Um,
Parang
Morning.
Good morning.
Hope you've all had a pleasant weekend. We had some really very nice events in Southport this past weekend. Dozier Hospital had their community cookout, and also the 4th of July had their youth active. So the city was in good spirits, at least on Saturday, and I hope on Sunday as well. So thank you for being here. The City of Southport Board of Aldermen Budget Workshop, June 8th, 2026 is now called to order. Our invocation, you stand for that, followed by the Our invocation will be prayers for peace and healing. We have war in the Middle East and U.S. military is at risk. We have Ebola outbreak in Africa taking thousands. Earthquake victims in the Philippines. So we need prayers for a successful week in our city and in our country, from success in governance to national and international sporting events being hosted in the U.S. as well, that they go well. So may there be peace and nonviolence and success in our governmental decisions, and especially in our city, in our state, and our country, in which we are also richly blessed. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
Two of our aldermen will be joining us shortly, but we will go ahead and get started. It's our budget workshop, and today the board is looking at the budget. From proposed tax rate adjustments, how to decrease costs, improve efficiency in the face of economic reality of higher costs. How do we recruit and retain employees? Salaries, benefits that are competitive. Overall, looking at expenses and expenditures. We're looking at public safety, supporting the projected needs for now and for the future, for our police, our fire, and our EMS. We're looking at the county in terms of help with our EMS. As you know, when there's not adequate staffing, no matter if you're a school teacher or you're in a hospital or you're a police officer, it puts a population at risk. And it's a safety issue, so we need to be cognizant of that. We have large goals and important challenges. Infrastructure in particular. Our water and sewer now with the county. Our waterfront stabilization, we have money, we have bids, we're moving forward. Based on our legislature for that $5 million. Our number one infrastructure right now, as I've said before, stormwater. And the estimates are 30 million to replace what's there and 60 million estimated to build what's needed. And this is from our engineers. We have the renovation of the courthouse. We have roads, paving. We're looking at all our parks and keeping up our city cemetery. We need funds for untoward events, in particular in our region, hurricanes and storms. And obviously funding for all our city departments. So we want to have budgetary restraint while providing important services, quality of life issues, and public safety, public health. So with that, I will turn it over to our city manager, Noah Simon.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I've heard from a number of you over the past few days about questions or ideas. So today we will entertain any thoughts, questions, or amendments you might have. Staff has prepared most of the answers to your questions that I anticipate you haven't. So happy to work through any questions or amendments you might have at this time.
Mayor Pro Tem, okay.
Ready to go.
I look so eager. It's such an eager look. So go ahead, sir.
Okay. I'm not going to give the background. Everybody already knows about our tax rate. Everybody already knows about our general fund comparisons that Shalom and Sunset Beach that are in our category of 2,500 to 5,000 residents. We're 15 million. They're at 12.2 and 9.7. The FTE comparison: Southport 84, Sunset Beach 60, Shalom 62. Trends in budgeting: 2016 to 21, increased 19.6% in our general fund, but over the last 5 years, it's gone up 89.9%. Our gross gone up 8% all the way. Our general fund balance,
I think I was writing for the last 89.1.
Our general fund from 2016 to 2021 went up 19.6%. From 21 to 26, it went up 89.9%, while our population growth went up 8%. Our general fund balance, which is an important policy that we have, and I actually wrote this general fund balance that was approved by the board back in 2023. Our general fund balance has gone from 2021 at 4.9 million to 2025 at 14.19 million, an increase of about 9 million in 4 years. correct me if I'm wrong, Noah, but I believe our policy requires 55% of our general fund to be retained for emergencies.
That's right.
Critically important. If my calculations are right, that's about $8.3 million. And certainly we want to retain as much of that general fund balance as we can, offset the potential cost of renovating our precious courthouse. I think we all are hopeful gets done sooner than later. I talked to the HR director this morning at Oak Island, one of our neighboring municipalities that we often compare statistics and data with. Just want to share with you a part of that conversation. Oak Island requires their employees to contribute to their health insurance premium every pay period. They have 4 salary tiers. The lowest tier contributes $17.50 a month, which comes to about $17.50 per pay period. They have pay periods every 2 weeks, which comes to about $35 a month roughly. The higher salaries employees pay $80 per month. That's for a basic 70-30 plan. They use the same state health plan that I used for 30 years in the state government, by the way. Their higher PPO plus plan, which is more like an 80-20 plan, their employees contribute $66 to $80 per month, depending on their salary tiers. I asked the question, so big difference. We don't require our employees to contribute anything towards our monthly health insurance premiums. I think that's pretty well much, we're out of touch with industry standards on that. Another question I asked was Christmas bonuses. Teachers and state employees have never got a Christmas bonus in the 30 years that I worked there. I was actually surprised, but Oak Island does give a Christmas bonus. Full transparency here. Their bonus was raised from $250 to $350 last year. I believe ours is $500, Noah.
That's right.
Half-time employees get half of the $350 at Oak Island, so they get $175 for a Christmas bonus. 401k program. Southport's 401k program, we contribute 5% of the employee's salary, no required match whatsoever, 5%. Oak Island's 401k program, they contribute, employees are required to contribute dollar for dollar up to 5%. So if the employee contributes 2%, the city's contributing 2%. If the employee contributes 5%, the city will do 5%. One exception to that is police. Police don't contribute anything, so they do contribute 5% to the police 401k without a match requirement. So I just wanted to share those comparisons with you this morning before we get into further detail and talk. I do have several motions to make. If you let me proceed, I can. I don't know if we want to make motions now or wait till Robert gets here. I'm fine either way, or we can just discuss them.
Well, I didn't know we were voting on anything, that we're reaching consensus, is that what you mean?
Yeah.
Okay, I just, it was like,
I don't want to do it without Robert.
yeah, it'd be great if you, well, he said he'd be here at 10.
Okay.
Before you do, following up on what you're saying, it is sounding a bit like you're blaming the employees for our budget problems.
I don't blame the employees, I blame the board of Aldermen.
Okay, but it's punitive to the employees unless we know how much would we actually save if we turned the 401k into a dollar for dollar, if we reduce the Christmas bonuses, if we have the employees contribute to the health insurance. I mean, all in all, is there a total saving if we were to just adopt what Oak Island does? I looked at Oak Island's HR handbook And it appeared to be updated for 2026. And she's telling you something different from what's in the handbook. Perhaps they've changed it since the beginning of 2026. I don't know. I looked at Leland, I looked at Charlotte, and I looked at the county, and I did not see any indication that any of those jurisdictions were requiring employees to kick in on health insurance or 401k. So obviously the stuff online is either out of date or something's askew in the information. So, I mean, how do we actually save a whole cent of tax increase if we were to change all of this around and say match our plans to what Oak Island is doing? That's a question for Noah.
So, so we would of course save some. So I put in the context some numbers and peers that I have found. So there's about 22 peer categories in the last League of Municipalities study that looks at our population, our size, about 22 municipalities. Of those 22 municipalities, 20 provide 100% employee coverage. Only 2 require some kind of employee contribution to health care. Across the state, they're all municipalities that answered the survey. 96 or 80% of those cities provided 100% coverage, and only 23 or 19.3% require some kind of employee contribution. Most cities or counties that provide for some kind of employee match is on the state health plan, which is a state requirement. The state health plan no longer allows you to join the state health plan because it is such financial rulings. And that's why they also contribute partly to that program. So, definitely, certainly, quick calculations I ran, if we required a $35 per month employee contribution, that would have raised about $40,000 a year. I would say, if we're giving COLA and merit on the front end, but we're taking it on the back end, it's kind of a wash. So, if that's the direction we're going, I don't know that we necessarily should be COLA and merit on the front if you're just going to reduce it on the back end. So, all in all, 401k for this 27 budget is about $340,000. So you require a match, you would cut that in half or whatever that looks at.
Yeah, so there's currently 47 full-time employees that contribute on their own. So about half, so.
Wait, did I hear that right? Although at this point, we don't require them to put in anything, half of them still don't participate? Is that?
Yeah, half participate, half don't roughly. 47 full-time employees as of today's date contribute to their own 401k.
So they're maxing out their 401k.
Right.
And I commend those who are participating on their own. I will commend, because when you get 30 years with local government and you retire, you're going to earn a pension that's about 49% of your highest 4 years average. So you need to supplement that pension. You won't be able to make a living on it. You won't be able to pay your bills. So I do commend those employees.
Right. So you're automatically required to contribute 6% as an employee to the state retirement. I can't speak to all employees' financial situation, but if you're a minimum employee, you are supporting a family living paycheck to paycheck, you're less likely to then be able to afford to do a 2.5% or whatever that percentage might be for 401k. So certainly some would, depending on what their individual needs might be.
I've always encouraged new young employees in their 20s that come into work, try to squeeze out $25 a month, and it'll compound over the years. It'll increase in its value over a 30-year career, and you'll be much happier at the end of your career if you participate.
Anyway, when I was doing this research into what other nearby municipalities do, they're making a big deal in their pitch for recruitment that they supply health insurance and that they don't require any contributions from employees. leading me to ask Noah, would this be a problem for us in retention of good employees and recruiting good employees? What kind of turnover have we had in, say, the last year, the last 2 years?
We've had a very low turnover rate in the last 2 years. I think the last time we ran the report, it was around 9 to 12%, very low compared to our other municipalities and counties. There are a lot of people that's wanting to come to work for Southport. We've done a good job over the last 2 years in doing the pay study, bringing us up where we need to be with our peers, having competitive benefit packages that are on par, if not better than others. Wilmington's new budget drastically increases salary. They're going to a living wage in Wilmington, a minimum of $21.89 for all employees. We're at about 18 to 20. They're raising police and fire significantly. They're going to a minimum of 62,000 for a police officer. We're around 50,000 for a starting police officer. They're going to 58,000 for fire. We're around 50, 55, depending on what your certifications are. So our peers like Wilmington are drastically leaps and bounds ahead of us as far as compensation and other benefit packages. So we are definitely very comparable to our other peers as far as the benefit package across the state. I view compensation and employee morale as a three-legged stool. It's base salary, it's benefit package, it's morale and how we treat our employees. So if we wobble any of those sticks, you might cause a shake in the stool and cause somebody to get up the road, especially if you live in Leland or outside of Southport, that you can easily go somewhere else.
How are salaries compared to Oak Island, Sunset Beach, and Charlotte?
They're very much on par. I mean, the salary study that we did 2 years ago gets us to pretty equal, if not a little better comparative rate to those. I think that's helped us a lot on retention.
From that salary study, we made sure that everybody was where they needed to be.
That's right.
Correct, and that went into effect July 1, 24. So it was very recent.
And those adjustments were all made in one fiscal year. We didn't phase them in, as I recall.
That's right.
And some employees did quite well, $8,000 raises, as I recall.
Right.
But it was all done at one time.
And some people didn't get raised. It wasn't.
You're right. It was.
It was whatever needed correcting, got corrected.
Right.
And the other thing I want to say about this, and I don't know how this, we just did the spousal that we're now talking about taking out with this budget. We just did that 2 years ago for retention. That was in lieu of doing something else. We did that to have another benefit rather than having more money than that.
How many employees take advantage of that?
Spousal coverage, I believe it's some sort of elevated, it's around 18. So that's whether it's employee child, employee spouse, or employee family. So it's roughly about 70 employees are employee only, and then 18 to 20 take advantage of some sort of dependent coverage.
You know, it is, it's not unusual for budget for municipalities, counties, and even in private industry for pay and benefits for employees to be the most visible and the most contentious of the parts of a budget. And yet it's the figures just don't back it up, as you know, like the spousal coverage, say 17 out of what, 84?
Roughly, I think this year's medical quote, health insurance quote was based off 89. So I think it was about 69 employee only, 20 had some sort of other coverage.
I mean, this is where we need to be cutting the budget. I don't think that adds up to even 1 cent of a tax increase.
How many permanent full-time staff? I've heard 84. I've heard 90, 91. Do we have a fixed number?
We did, yes.
So give me 1 second, log into.
How many full-time and how many part-time? I know we do have 2 outstanding part-time engineers.
As it stands today, there are 86 regular full-time employees in the city.
And part-time too?
Two.
And what departments do they work in?
So we have, there are 21. One in admin, that's our contract engineer. There are currently 4 in police, 6 in fire, 9 in rescue, and 1 community building.
I didn't hear that last one, what?
Community building.
No part-time in, Parks and Rec?
Not
Right
as of
now.
this moment. There was, referees and that type of thing, but
Are we counting those as part-time or just contract referees for basketball?
they have been classified as part-time.
Okay. Well, the question that I think lingers for everybody and that we haven't actually gotten to is, why do we need so many employees what was the number for Shalom?
Sunset Beach and Shalom, 160, the other one's 62.
Which one has 160?
He said 60.
Oh, 60, yeah, okay, oh my God. Okay, so, roughly 20 to 25 fewer than we have, right?
Correct.
What services are we providing that they're not?
EMA. That's a big chunk of it.
Can you talk in this direction so I can
So
hear you?
EMS is one thing I know that they don't do.
They do fire.
They do fire. I have not seen a breakdown of their exact where those employees are to know.
They have a high number of temporary employees, but they're during the summer and they patrol the beach. So it's kind of a unique situation there.
Oh, it's Sunset.
Sunset Beach, correct. They have a high number of temporary employees and the bulk of them as I was told when I spoke to their HR director, well, they patrol the beach for various beach violations.
Comparing to Sunset Beach and Oak Island, for example, and even Shalom, the comparisons are worth looking at, but there are obvious flaws in looking at that because there's simply no comparison. For example, Oak Island, they have to deal with the beach. We don't have a beach like that. Thank God. We do not, as Noah just said, Shalom does not have EMS. We do. And Shalom does not have the 4th of July festival. Shalom, as far as I can tell, is not a destination. People don't go there just to have a good time in Shalom. I'm not sure why they go there. But at any rate, we have to deal with a constant inflow of visitors, inflow and outflow, and the effect on our infrastructure. We're having to provide employees to deal with this. This is something that we created. We desired visitors, we've gotten visitors, and now we're paying for it. How do we deal with that? Is there a logical way to reduce our number of employees?
Yeah, I would just add that the North Carolina League of Municipalities does an annual survey that no one referred to. And we're in the category in Brunswick County, 2,500, 5,000 residents. And that's why I use Sunset Beach and Shalom, because we're in that same category. Now, Sunset Beach does have a beach, obviously. Shalom does not, but that's why I often use those comparisons. But it's concerning to me that, they get about 60 to 62 full-time employees and I thought we had 84 down here, we may have 89. So that's
86.
86, okay.
It's really a judgment call on what does the board want to do without, you know, do you want to do without EMS? We can get rid of those employees. Do you want to do without Parks and Rec? We can do out with those employees. Do you want to cut Public Works, those services? We can have as many employees as the board wants. It's a matter of a judgment call of what do you want to live with.
Well, y'all know my position on EMS, we're being the tax board. We should be negotiating, and it won't happen this fiscal year, I realize that, but we should be negotiating with the county, since they're financially and legally responsible for operating EMS services in Southport. We should be negotiating with them, to transition by FY 48, in my opinion. And that will save the taxpayers $1.1 million, which is 22% of our tax rate.
Well, I appreciate that as a concept. I'm gonna tell you, the reason we have EMS and the reason we funded it the way we have in the past few years is because citizens asked us to. So I would be all for having a workshop about that conversation and having citizens come and having all of that. I'd be all about that. I think it would be arbitrary for us to have that conversation here without that kind of.
I'm not a workshop.
You know, because just to understand, because it's easy to say, oh, well, the county permitted, but then what does that service look like? Is that what our citizens were willing to pay for it? So that's why we have it.
I think we should have a workshop with the county and ask them to.
We've already said to look at this.
Yeah.
We've already said that, we've already
That's right.
started that process.
And that would be great.
But
I would not vote for the county to take it over if they didn't have contractual obligations to maintain a base station here in Southport, reach the same level of response time, and not drag us all over to Bolivia and Calabash and Sunset Beach under the mutual aid program. We need to keep, because of our population, aging population, we need to keep them here in South Control.
you lose control when.
I think a workshop, I'm all about if you want to have a workshop and have those conversations. First, I wouldn't invite the county to the first workshop. I'd invite the citizens.
I want to hear from the county EMS director exactly how this would work.
Right.
And, you know, they're not going to do it for free. I mean, it's not like we just hand them EMS and we don't have to pay any of the EMS fees. Or any, the costs are not going to just be absorbed by the county.
They're required to.
Yeah, we're already paying all the EMS fees for the county.
We're required to operate our EMS by law and pay for it. We've chosen to
So that,
operate our own at a cost of $1.1 million for the taxpayer.
I brought this up during our last budget cycle. So Paul, I'm glad that you're on board with looking into this as well. Karen, I appreciate the fact that you're open to doing a workshop on it. I think that that's going to be an important thing. I think what we heard over and over again during the last budget cycle was the, I believe it was 4 minutes. If I remember correctly, was the response time is what we were looking at from our local EMS.
Maybe a few seconds shorter than that. I feel like it was 3 something, but could
Versus,
be 4, just like
versus, I think it was 6 or 8 from,
I think.
so we I think it was a 5-minute difference, is
Yeah.
roughly what it was, if I remember correctly. And I think it's worth looking at and certainly workshopping with the citizens to see where we are on that versus the cost benefit of that. And I'm not saying that anyone's life is a cost benefit analysis. What I'm saying is
And remember, one of the things that we discussed, I think it was 2 to 3 years ago, regarding the fire and EMS budget, was that all of our firefighters, our full-time firefighters for sure, have been trained and certified as EMS. So how does that work if it's now the county? And does the county even want to take our EMS? And does that mean that they take all of the EMS staff? Does all that shift over? What does that do then to the fire department personnel and budget, considering that we've got trained and certified EMS staff in the fire department, as firefighters as well.
Do we know?
There are complications in this. It is not an easy from here A to B, and then we.
Does the county
Everything's fine.
chief, does the county come in and assist you when you need them? Do they come into town and help you, the county?
If we're busy, yes. If we have calls going on, then yes, they
So
come.
they're still coming into town and helping you sometimes.
Yes, they have to.
So they're already obligated. It's just a matter of how much is needed.
It's not up to the county to decide if they want to transition or not. By law, they are required to do it already. However, we've chosen to operate our own at a cost of 1.1 million to the taxpayers this year.
Because the county by itself cannot provide the level of care and services that Southport provides.
But they will have to if we remove.
Have to is a word.
I mean,
They're legally obligated to provide service now.
But it may not be
It's
quality
not
service. It may not be,
Elsewhere,
yeah.
which is, 2 out of 8, or, I mean, they're short 2 out of 8.
Well, before we make it, before I vote something like this, I want to know, how much do we save in money? And what do we give up in service, care? That this is not an equivalency that's easy to parse out.
We're not gonna make a decision today that impacts the FY 27 budget. All we're discussing is having some workshops with the citizens, with the county, and getting additional information and feedback. So this is gonna be probably a 12-month contractual negotiation if we decide to go in that way. But in terms of the numbers, the EMS budget for FY 27 is 1.5 million. They project 400,000 in revenues, which means there's a net cost to the taxpayers of 1.1 million. So we're talking about 1.1 million, which is about 22% of our ad valorem tax base. Again, we're not going to decide that today. We don't even need to vote today. We need to talk about having some workshops in the future, gathering additional information, and see what the county would offer, and see what we would demand that they do as part of a contractual agreement.
Do we have anything set up at this point with the county EMS to come and talk with us? Do they know we're talking about all this?
we've had some, I brought it to the county manager's attention that there's some on-one conversations in the community, so he's aware of. And his team has to look at that as we go forward, and, I didn't commit to anything, I heard from the board what your temperature was, and so we'll have those, ask those questions and have those conversations.
We're not scheduled to vote on this budget until the 17th.
Correct.
Okay, we have a public hearing where the public have been devotedly here and, listening at least, will have the opportunity to ask questions and, give us their thoughts on, the budget, this coming Thursday night.
I would like to ask for a strong vote on some low-hanging fruit. Can we agree not to provide food to the Board of Aldermen when we meet at 9 a.m. and 6 p.m.?
What was that?
That was something you talked.
I didn't hear what you said.
Can we agree not to provide food to the Board of Aldermen meetings when we meet at 9 a.m. and 6 p.m.?
Well, do you see any food today?
That's great. But I think Lo brought this up at a prior conversation.
It's not really a big issue. What's next?
It's not a big issue.
Yeah, and you do 2 or 3 hours, and we're stuck with 75 people talking. It helps sometimes.
Well, and it's staff too. A lot of
Yes.
times that conversation is really more about staff and keeping them after hours.
If we're there from 6 to 10 or 11,
Yeah.
that's.
There was a time long ago, as in about 3 years ago, when we would come in for a 9 o'clock meeting and there would be coffee and juice and boxes from Bernie's and so forth. And frankly, I didn't see the staff eating any and drinking any of that. So, is that necessary?
Maybe this wasn't low hanging fruit, maybe.
Anyway, go ahead.
Maybe it
Low
was.
hanging case.
What's next? What's
Yeah,
next?
no, can you explain a little bit more about how you reached the, employee merit bonuses for this year? In one document, you say $63,286. But in the summary document, it talks about, merit bonuses of $500. I don't know if my numbers are off, or how did you come up with the $63,286 for a merit raise? How did you break that down?
So the merit bonus would be 500, as it's currently is 500 per full-time employees. The 63 is the average that it would be to fund that. The 63,000.
What about the two part-time, 20-hour-a-week engineers?
So part-time's not included in the merit bonus. If you wanted to, we pulled some other numbers as well. If you wanted to do different numbers, if we wanted to go to a $750 merit, we would need an additional about $5,000. If we wanted to go to a $1,000 merit, we would need an additional $26,170. If we wanted to go to a percentage base, 1% on the salary would be around $1,200 extra dollars, and what's already funded, 1.5%, 32, 2%, 62,000, 2.5%, 93,000, 3%, 124. So there's some different options.
Well, I think you talked about the advantage financially of doing bonuses versus adding it to the base salary. If you add it to the base salary, it's going to increase the city's cost contributions to the local government employee retirement system and the 401k. So now we're doubling and tripling.
And it's compounding.
It's compounding over the years. I do like your suggestion on doing it, as bonuses. However, I do like making it truly a merit bonus. So could we consider having merit bonuses of, and I'm just making these numbers up, still staying within your budget of 63,000? Could we have merit bonuses in a tiered system of 300, 500, 700? I think there should be some differences in merit bonuses, or are you talking 500 would be the average? I'm not sure.
Paul, before Noah answers, when you say, merit bonus, are you actually talking about what we commonly refer to as raises? A merit raise for a performance-based merit raise, and, right? And instead of it being a raise added to the base salary, it would be a bonus.
It would be a bonus. It's
And
based on
not,
merit,
and not applied to the,
not applied to the base salary, because that would add to our elders and 401k contributions costs.
and, is that legal?
To do.
I mean, is, if, is it legal to, is it common?
Yes, there are some. Leland does a merit bonus. I believe, what are they, 2,600?
They have a flat rate plus a percentage of salary based on whether they're a manager or a, non-exempt employee, something along those lines.
This is merit based, so if you have not performed well, then you don't get anything. If you perform
You get a written,
well, you
you
get
get a written warning, you don't get it.
Yeah, so whatever the amount is, we would still have the back end, employee review system that we use for the percentage base. So it would be staggered still depending on your performance. So,
I do like your merit bonus, it does save money on the elders and the.
We would need to check on that, because I believe, I know like longevity pay, because it's in the personnel policy, you do still pay elders, 401k, things like that on. So we would need to look into that, but we still may have that obligation to merit-based raise.
Teachers,
Bonus.
over 100,000 teachers and state employees get bonuses.
The state does it
Yes.
as bonuses
Yes.
instead of raises. So if you start at, this is hypothetical figure, if you start at 50,000 a year, that's gonna be your salary until you retire.
Well, you're gonna get COLAs.
You've got a bonus, but your
Yes.
base salary will be 50,000 from day one.
Plus your annual COLA. plus your annual COLA, unless you get promoted, obviously,
Mhm.
to a different job, but
COLA's just break even. The COLA is not an increase, really, increase.
in the
It's-
merit,
it's
bonus.
it's trying to keep you on the same plane, so that's not really an
And we are
advance.
paying longevity also for, if you're standing, you continue to work with us and exceed a certain number of years, you get an annual longevity bonus as well.
This is a longevity bonus. I've been asked about that, but you know, that's crucial for retention. I mean, we've lost people to Wilmington. We lost a really good planning director to Wilmington. And he's enjoying all of these new benefits and increases and everything else. We
I'm not-
lost a couple of other people, I believe.
I'm not opposed to
To
longevity.
Wilmington.
I'm not opposed to the longevity bonus, level, something that I've received for 30 years. State government, I'm not opposed to that. I think that's important to retain valuable employees.
In other words, we have the danger of other municipalities and the county trying to poach good employees all the time.
Yes, I think our assessment needs to be, is our benefit package, is it a Chevrolet, a Cadillac, or a Lamborghini? Many of you probably recognize it.
I think that depends on what other brands and models are in the showroom. You know, if we're on par pretty much with other municipalities, then, you know, we're all Chevrolets.
No,
If Wilmington's in the showroom too, then,
I don't think Wilmington should be in the showroom. I think Oak Island should be in the showroom. And those are the figures that I shared with you this morning. After I got off the phone with their HR director this morning, there is some differences.
Wilmington's the Lamborghini and we're, I guess, Chevys.
Well, I think you definitely need to be looking at BSL because they've been the ones who've stolen two of our employees here recently. So we've definitely lost them.
Well, Brandon did not go with BSL. He worked for me. That was not the reason he went to BSL.
It was that third leg of the stool that, the manager spoke about.
It was upper management.
The quality of work environment is very important. And we need to.
And not having a turnover in city manager every year. And we appreciate you being here.
Well, and I'd like to remind everybody that a lot of our employees are commuting into town. And they have a choice of where they would like to go work. If we are not making it appealing to be here, it is very easy to go somewhere else. And we are, I would say probably, I can't say none, but I would say the majority of our employees are not in second homes. They're barely making it in their first. And if we're looking at the additional cost of childcare in this area, we're lucky that we have employees that show up.
Brandon happened to live in BSL also.
I
And he
mean,
got a promotion from a forward to finance director of BSL. He's a older man and a friend.
The cost of living here. We're at the end, whether we want to admit it or not, we're still at the end of the world. They turn around and go back. The housing stock is really out the road. And when you're out the road 10, 12 miles, it becomes really close to Charlotte, really close to Oak Island, really close to Coral Springs. So we are competing with this end of the road situation.
well, and looking at just my personal experience, in childcare and,
Yes.
trying to live, as I'm looking at possibly purchasing a home, I can't afford to buy a home on the side of Southport where I need to live in order to stay on this board. So
Amen to that.
I am very cognizant of what we're doing for our employees right now, because I've actually looked at going to work for the city because that might be a better option for me than some of the other things that I've got going on.
So Southport is unique. I think we can all agree on that, and that we want our employees to have competitive salaries, benefit, and trying to balance the budget
on that, I don't think works. We want to recruit and retain. And quality of life is important for all our citizens, whether the taxpayer or the employee. So, I think we're all saying the same thing, and that we want employees to have salaries that fit our city and the services they provide, and the quality of the employee that we have, and the quality of services that are provided. And if we can provide it at a better price, then that's great. But you have to put money into a system, and then you gain benefit by decreased problems, decreased untoward events on the backside. If you're doing maintenance regularly, if your employees are healthy, you have a good health program, then you save costs. It may not be lowering the tax rate, but you're saving costs. And I think we have to consider that as well. Trying to buy homes, it's a daunting task. It really is. The prices of homes in our area. So I really think we need to be unique. We need to be competitive. We need to provide excellence. We need to have quality. And I think we move in that direction.
So as far as our number of employees, I appreciate the breakdown of the part-time employees that you just gave us. I think that helps us realize some of that. I also realize that
Good morning. Good morning.
that Sunset Beach and Shalom are not offering the same things that we are. Parks and Rec is not something that Sunset Beach does. And then the community building that brings us revenue also has to have some employees to service that as well. Now, I would love to look at, as we have attrition of our employees, possibly not filling those positions if they're not needed. And anyone who retires, I would love for them to still be open to helping us if we need that. So I don't want to.
And just to touch on the part-time, those are not part-time employees that are hitting that 1,000-hour threshold per year. The majority are in our emergency services, which I think they could all speak to, are kind of almost an on-call filling positions. The only rarely scheduled of that bunch that has a weekly schedule is going to be the community building maintenance individual.
And our inspections department pays for itself. And so those employees generate revenue, more revenue than it costs to operate it. So it's not all like not accounted for or not revenue, bringing in revenue. So I took on what Rebecca, just playing off of what Rebecca said about the community.
And Dick, Rebecca mentioned childcare services. You can get help at the county DSS office. The federal government provides Brunswick County money for low-income residents.
Many of our employees do not qualify for that. We don't hit the threshold for what they consider low income. However, we are looking at employees that are making just above that level and don't qualify for it.
We would hope our employees are not on the low income level. We want them to make a good salary. Yes.
But if you happen to fall in that category, I'm just encouraging them to seek out the county and probably provide a discount of about $600 or more a month.
I've heard numbers as high as $2,000 a month for employees, childcare. That's a lot of
It's
money.
very expensive.
That's a lot of money. And it's so much money that why would you go to work?
Exactly.
No, a question I asked you on Thursday, a citizen has asked for clarification on that. I had asked you if the engineers get benefits, and you said no, but can you clarify, are our two engineers part-time employees? Are they contract employees? And have they ever gotten paid holidays, extra OT, anything?
So they are classified as part-time employee. One does not receive any benefits. The others sometimes get state retirement because that's mandated if he exceeds 1,000 hours of work. So it depends on where his hours in the year falls to whether he will receive that state retirement benefit. It has always been the manager's discretion to grant paid holidays as well to that one employee. So there again, it depends on how much he works through the years, whether managers have granted that holiday pay or not. So mostly no, but it depends on that one employee, how much he works.
And that's on an annual, hourly basis. Okay.
Notice, 3 parcels of land at the intersection of 11th and Hankinsville. Does the city have any plan to sell that land? I just think they could get $200,000 to $300,000 to sell those 3 parcels of land, because they're right next door to a parcel of land, and full transparency that I own a lot next door. So
So
I look at these 3 parcels of land vacant, but sitting there, at least that's eternity.
right.
Why haven't we sold them and made 2?
So we have a lot of several different parcels, I won't say a lot, but several different parcels that we own throughout the city. I discovered we own one in VSL for some reason. So I have been working in the background to look at all of those where they are. So I'll bring that back at some point to the board to have that conversation. But yes, I don't think the vast majority of those that we do own, we have a need anymore for. So I think it will be just evaluating what those needs, if any, and then looking if we want to move to sell those for sure.
Could you look at that as well at buildings such as the old JC's building and the senior citizens shack, I guess it is now? That property, those together are not used that much. A cost of benefit analysis, what do we pay for maintenance? And if you looked at that over a 3 to 5 year period, I mean, I believe we replaced the roof on the JC's building, and we constantly put Band-Aids on the senior citizen building versus how much is it used? What do we derive in revenue from the uses? Versus what would property in that location bring us if we were to sell?
So the cemetery committee wants, the cemetery committee wants to turn that into a columbarium and sell spots. And that's a possibility. But I'm sort of with you in terms of trying to build a perpetual care program. Go ahead and sell the property for $500,000 and put it into the perpetual care program and don't create. Sort of like, it seems like everything we do, we make it hard to make money. We make it complicated. It's like we do 3 steps to make one. And so we take the money, we sell it, we put it into the account, and we pay bills. On the other side, I've been to some local funerals and things in those buildings, and they make a great location to go after a funeral, a graveside, and do that. So maybe we should promote that. We've got to use our assets better. We're just.
Yeah, I mean, we really need to take a good look at everything we own and how much we use it, how much we get for it, how much we could get for it, and decide whether we want to keep it.
Yeah, we've already got the money. Why do we work ourselves to death to try to get it back? I don't understand what I just said. We already have the money. Why should you work yourself to death to get it back? That's what we've been doing. We've already got the assets, we just misuse them.
The columbarium thing, I think that might be more than $500,000 long term.
Well, if it generates,
Figuring all that.
but there's cost to buying it
Oh, yeah.
and things of that nature. So you're giving up the opportunity to get $500,000 to gamble, that you'll get $500,000. We've already got it. Why do we do crazy things to make it look good? That's really what we're doing, and everything, the community building everywhere.
I don't know that there's $500,000 worth of dying use. I mean, people aren't dying to live next to, well.
They built a neighborhood right across the street.
Right, but it's across the street and it's got a buffer. And so, I mean, I don't know how much that land's worth, but the columbarium thing, I think, has a lot of value in that you create progressive long-term, because you're not getting 500,000 in one fell swoop, you're getting it over time, which is what cemeteries need. And if they're gonna continue to be part of our budget, then we need to find a way to afford them.
You sell it, and you take the interest off the money and pay the bills.
But I think we also should think about that we want to be in business competing against private business being, funeral homes, funeral, homes that have cemeteries, private cemeteries and so on. Why are we doing this when private businesses can do it?
The only reason I think that that would even be worth it, and I agree with you, I don't want to compete against private business, is some of the people who are from Southport, have lived in Southport their whole lives, might not be able to find a burial plot in Southport at this time, and they might like to be able to do that.
The columbarium is one at Sacred Heart now. And I think one at our cemetery would be beneficial because people want to be buried in Southport. We do not have, it's, I don't think any plots left basically in Northwood for sale.
Unless somebody turns one in.
Yeah, and then so that would be a benefit to people who want to continue on their journey after their time on earth is over and stay there, so to speak, stay in Southport. And I think that would be beneficial. And then that funding would help, to Alderman Spencer's point, to help keep the cemetery up and the work that they're doing with the cemetery committee.
We've had a rather extensive conversation this morning, Robert, about benefits.
I got to listen.
And there's one that I overlooked, and I wasn't aware of until recently, is the fire department operates an on-call program that costs $800 a month or $9,600 a year, that is shared by 4 employees. The $800 is shared by 4 employees, and then some of these employees are not subject to overtime under the Federal Fair Labor Standards Act. Does this budget include continuing that program or not?
So it is included in the.
And they are not the only department that receives on-call pay. Public Works does and the police do as well.
And it's on-call paid to employees who do not fall under the Fair Labor Standards Act of the federal government, therefore they're not eligible for overtime. So why would we pay them on-call pay if they're not eligible for overtime when they come back on an emergency?
What do they?
Well, let's talk about it as it relates to public works. If you're doing the same thing for public works, then let's hit Tom Stanley up and, let's give him a little bit of the pain too.
I don't have a problem with it.
I don't want to put it all on TV.
Hey, I'm good. I got big
How
shoulders.
did-
I'm
Can
not
you,
scared.
can you help explain that whole on-call system to us a little bit?
Sure, I'll be glad to.
I don't know how this works.
Well, I'll explain to you. Buckle up. So what happens is we have 2 on-call people, technically 3. I consider myself on call 24/7, 365. I will come back and have come back to the city many times and will continue to do so. With that on call, for me, that means you email me if a citizen emails me on Saturday, guess what I'm doing on Saturday? I'm replying to that citizen. I've had many citizens say, oh, you didn't have to reply to me today. I was just getting off my chest. No, sir. And that's what I said. Ken Harris from Langley was the last one. No, you expect a specific amount of service from me, you're gonna get that service. Also, that gets me answering my phone 24/7. Now, as far, I do have 1 streets guy on call and 1 garage mechanic on call. So technically, there's 3 people on call in Public Works every week. I do not get paid for that. I do not get the $150 on-call pay for the week. My salary is sufficient for me for everything I do for the city. I don't ask for anything more. Now, my hourly employees, the streets guys, and I hope I'm loud enough for everybody. The streets guys and the garage guys. Both of those guys get $150 a week. That's $300 a week times 52. I don't have to calculate, you do the math. Now with the garage guy, If Charles Drew or Ralph Treadway has a broken down ambulance on the side of the road on a Saturday, guess what? My guy's gonna come out to it. Now, do they have those calls very often? No, but all it takes is for one time, they can mention up a crank. And that $150 was well damn worth it. Okay? Also, when they come in, if you want to dig deeper into it, if they come in, they get a 2-hour minute for coming in. Now, to me, that $150, I don't like to call it on-call pay. I like to call it restriction pay. Because for that 7-day period, those guys are on restriction. They can't go out to dinner with their family. They can't go to the beach. They can't go to the movie in case that phone call comes on. Same thing with the streets guys, except we're not gonna deal with ambulances. Community buildings, again, wedding community buildings, toilet bowl overflows. And none of the girls can go in there and play that toilet, I assure you that.
Turn it off.
You know. I get off to come in, take that. So those are the type things, a sinkhole pops up, a street sign, a stop sign, police called me many times, hey, there's a sergeant Moon, was last one, street sign in the east, west, and whatever. Guess what? I call that call guy, and that call guy comes out. That is a service that Public Works provides on the call. I think it's well worth it, but if you guys don't want to do it, that $300 a week is too much for you. And you want to let stuff wait till Monday morning or the next morning, it's up to you to cut. It's your game. You play it how you want to. We're just here to provide and do whatever you guys direct us to do.
Is this standard operating procedure for public works departments?
Yes.
Is this something we do?
This isn't something
No other
special. This isn't something
municipality or
special.
jurisdiction does?
This isn't anything special.
It's very normal.
This, every fellow law does, period.
Just for clarification,
And
I don't have a concern with on-call pay. I used to do on-call pay for electronic house arrest people when they broke their ankle bracelet. But you don't pay on-call pay to employees who are not subject to fair labor standards. If you're not eligible for overtime, you should not get on-call pay. These other employees, streets and garage, yeah, I agree, they're eligible for on-call pay. But if you're not subject to the Fair Labor Standards Act, you should not be getting on-call pay.
And I will say, because I see a lot of, there's people, warriors, that I've seen mentioned it for the past several years, and I'll go ahead and put it out there, and you can decide. Me, my, I'm gonna say, call pay, I guess I should say, is, the city provides me a truck to drive to and from work with. That's been a big complaint by specific people for the past several years. And I told you what you get from my service being on call. And again, you guys can decide if you want to continue that or stop it, and that will decide how my service level changes. Or
So,
make it say, yes, sir.
Just for clarification, you have two people that are actually getting paid on call. You being that third on-call person is salary, so you're not taking that.
No.
And one of your benefits is a truck that you drive to and from.
To and from work, that's it. And that gets the city gets out with 24/7, and there are many times I have to come out.
And
There are many
so,
times I've come out, I'll do so.
thank you. And then just to clarify, Alderman Gross's comments, could you clarify the on-call situation, why these people would be getting on-call pay?
Yes, sir. We have 4 individuals that, rotate weekly at the fire department. We have an on-call chief, for 7 days, and they get on-call pay, basically to run after-hour calls, also to answer questions from the staff that's there, because we're not in the office, so like the fire truck breaks down, ambulance goes down, they call us to keep us informed, to put messages out to the department, so, so basically, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, I don't have, just for clarification, I don't have a problem with Tom's running his public works on-call program. I agree 100%. There's 2 employees who are subject to overtime, are eligible under federal law for on-call pay. And I agree with the 2-hour minimum callback. That's the way we used to do it in probation parole statewide when I was their assistant director. I agree with that, Tom, 2-hour minimum callback. My objection to this program is just for, if you are not subject to overtime, you should not be eligible. If you're salaried and not subject to overtime, you should not be getting called back.
Mr. Gross, we'll make sure that our attorneys look into that, since it's a law. We'll make sure our attorneys look into that.
That'd be fine. But it is a city decision.
Not a city attorney, we'll make sure our association with the North Carolina Fire Chiefs Association works into it.
I'd be happy to listen to it.
And that's $9,600 a year we're talking about. Mr. Gross.
Yes, sir. Well,
96.
not 96, if half the employees are, I'm just going based on the law, Robert.
Okay.
If the employees are subject to FLSA, the Fair Labor Standard, and are eligible for overtime, I'm perfectly fine. They are eligible, and I believe they
So
should
the
get
most
call.
that we're talking at 9,600, it could be less.
It could be less.
Okay.
Right. It could be less.
That's for both fire and public works.
No,
No,
that
that's
is for fire.
Okay, and public works was, what,
15.
300 a week, what was it?
Yes.
150 a week for 2 days.
So it'd be 15,600.
Again, but the street and garage person, correct me if I'm wrong, Tom, they are, eligible for overtime.
Yeah, they're all hourly employees.
Yeah, so I have no problem with that, for all pay for that. And the 2 hours, you know, think that's following the law.
So to go, just some of the employees that are currently getting involved may be volunteer.
Well, yes, sir. So, I mean, I'm getting on call, Chief Treadway gets on call. And then we have 2 volunteers that are chief officers that serve on the chiefs as volunteers, and they're getting on call.
Any other, comments in that regard?
I think now that Robert's here and Rebecca's here, I'd like to get some straw votes on, do you want to make any changes to our employee benefit package or not? Based on the research that I've done comparing this to Oak Island and some other communities, there are some clear differences and some are not clear. But I would like to hear, and if I get voted down 5-1 on every one of them, that's fine. But I'm gonna get it on the record, to be honest. Because I don't want anybody coming back to me and say, Paul, you didn't do a darn thing to help control spending this year. We put you in office and you ran to protect the taxpayers. So I would like to
No,
have.
I think you are protecting the taxpayers. It's not just about cutting costs. It's not just about rating our services. That's not what it's about. Providing services is protecting the taxpayer. And when you get that, core value inside you, you will see that. But I'm happy to entertain some, strong votes.
Before I would vote one way or the other, I want to hear, I guess on Thursday night from Noah, what would we say if we did this, you know? All the proposed, cuts, one of the proposed cuts, 2, et cetera, what would we say in dollars if we took out, spouse coverage? What would we save if we required a dollar for dollar 401k?
I mean, we can.
So by
we can
cutting-
do it real time.
So the proposed budget includes 25% spousal coverage. It had been 50 prior. That was a savings of about $59,000. So cutting it to 0 would be another 59,000. I think it's $59,800 roughly. So that is one. I believe, Noah, you had the calculation on the health benefit. We were to give $35 to $80. Fiscal year 2025, the city contributed $301,000 to employees' 401ks. Given that half of our staff participate and fund their own 401k, you could assume that, you know, half savings there. But if we did that, you may have the entire staff decide to contribute 5% to take advantage of that match. So there may not be any savings. There's no way to really quantify that. Given those numbers, though, you could assume about 150,000 if it stayed true as is.
You know, cutting benefits, cutting spousal health care. I mean, I think these are things that help with recruitment and retainment. And
Well, the numbers, staff that has reached out and
I
it's
just
been
feel like,
incredible.
yeah, I just don't think that's the best way to go at all. And protecting taxpayers, I mean, it's what services we can provide, and the services are provided by the employees. If you have great employees, you have great service, you have great quality, and I think that's what we need to look at. It's okay to look at savings, but I just don't see where that is going to be beneficial in the long run. I really don't. I think we need great employees, great salaries, benefits, in that regard. I think you have a high morale, as the manager says, group of employees.
So, you said we can kind of get these numbers in real time. Can, Joey, can you just, as Paul makes these motions or has these conversations, can you just throw out a number to us?
Absolutely. I think that's what I need.
It'll take me just a few seconds to actually do the math, but
Yeah,
we can do it.
man, that's awesome. Minutes matter.
Tested our finance director here.
It's a long weekend. Don't hold anything against me. I'm gonna calculate.
So minutes matter in my work too. So could you start off with the first one?
Could we, I wasn't able to write fast enough. Okay. Spousal benefit, covering spouse for insurance, that was 59,000, we would say, if we cut that out.
Right now.
I'm sorry, I can't hear when everybody talks. Joey,
Give me just a moment. Let me change some of these and I'll give you that.
and then the 401K, and was there a third?
Well, I'd say a minimum of just $35 contribution.
So $35 a month, that would be about $36,000 we would say.
For spousal
No,
insurance,
we require all employees to contribute $35 a month.
and that would
for
be,
healthcare. Around 36,000 we would generate.
for a $35 a month contribution.
So if we remove spousal coverage altogether, it would save $57,610.
And the current budget recommended brings it down to 25%, which saves 59,000, you said?
That number I just gave you is that savings.
Okay. So that's,
57,610.
but that's the current recommended budget.
No. 57,610 is the cost of the 25%.
And
If we were to remove it to zero, that is what the city would say.
Joey,
another 57?
Correct. So
We're not saving anything for the current budget yet. The 25% is the savings over last year, but we also have a massive deficit and a recommended. So
Right, just
what
like if-
these kind of folks are here for is something off of what we currently have.
if the board chose to stay at the 50%, then the budget, as it was presented to you, would increase 57,610. If the board likes the proposal, it would stay where it is. If the board wanted 0%, it would reduce the budget another $57,610.
Joey, how many employees have some sort of additional?
Don't have the paper from the Hill Group, but it was between 18 and 20 have some other sort of coverage.
So.
Well, if you want a straw vote, let's go by each of these benefits. I'm willing to require the $35 a month for 401K.
Can we do these in an organized manner with
Yes.
Paul leading the conversation?
Yeah.
That we're all in.
Okay, sure.
So let's start with this first savings that you're proposing as it relates to the spousal.
Okay, so I'm going off the current budget. The current budget saves going from 50 to 25% saves 57,610.
Right.
I'm actually, I would vote no to go down to zero. So I'm fine personally with the 25%. So
But that doesn't save anything off of the current
No, no,
budget that we're.
No, but for low aspects, so I guess the recommendation would be, off the current recommended budget, we go from 25% to 0. So who would propose, or who would recommend if 25 is 0?
No,
Save another 57,000, just answer those questions.
we just show of hands,
Show of
somebody
hands.
save an additional 50,600.
And it goes to 0.
All right, so we, in other words, we don't cover spouses,
Right.
and we say 57,000. How, and again, how many?
18 to 20.
18 to 20 based on
18
last
to 20
year.
employees have
Correct.
spousal coverage.
Yes. We could get, we just completed open enrollment, so I'm sure we can get you the exact number, but that's the roundabout.
I vote no going down to 0 simply because I think that was a good step to go from 50 to 25. I think that's a fair step for the first year.
So you're asking
No.
for a straw vote on nothing or 25%?
Seems like
It's already at 25.
It's already like it is.
I'll make a motion to keep it like it is at 25%.
Okay, Charlotte, would you
I will-
second that?
I wasn't, let's not do it in form of a motion.
So I think
Ask them to say it.
Before we can get into a vote, can I ask you a question?
It's not-
Yes.
I know, but I'm in favor of keeping it at 50%. And the reason is, we did that for retention, and if, I'm just gonna use the number 20. Look, I'm just gonna use that, because that's probably the top of the number, right?
Correct.
So then we've got 20 employees that are participating in this. This is a $6,000 benefit, $500 a month that they're counting on, and that's 50%. So they're having to also do another 50%. So they're spending $500 a month too. So I'm just saying, the reason we did this was it was for a recruitment tool, and I suspect it's for those people participating in it, they're gonna be looking at a $500 or whatever, $250 reduction of their pay with us taking this out. I just want us to be clear.
So I do have those numbers. So currently as it stands with our coverage, an employee would pay, so an employee's spouse only 50% coverage, paying $577.3 a month. Going to 25%, that number goes up to $865, so it's roughly $280. Somebody that is employee children is $355. Currently, as it stands at 50%, that jumps to $530. So that is again another $175 increase. The biggest jump is employee family that stands today at 50% coverage. An employee on our plan would pay $885 a month. That would jump to $1,325 at 25%.
So technically, doing it at the 25, even though we're giving them COLA, they're still making less this year than they did last year.
Right.
Is what that would be doing.
Right.
On average, a $300 increase to the employee per month to jump from 50 to 25.
It's taking away benefits.
Teachers and state employees get 0 across the state, contributed to their dependents. Health insurance, I just,
We can be different. We can be unique.
we're unique, all right.
Well, yeah, look at the quality of teachers. I mean, your teachers are leaving the industry daily if they're not being paid, if they're not getting their fair share. And having good teachers.
So maybe we should start with the current rate's 50, Noah's recommended budget brings it to 25 and saves 57,000. So who would want to keep it at 50? Which now we have to find another 57,000.
Let's go around the room and say your number, 50%, and whoever wants to do that. Just say your number.
I'm just struggling that we're gonna pay our people less money this year than they were last year.
No, I agree.
Let me just tell you, I'd get out of business if that were happening to me.
Right.
Before we make even a pretend decision on this, I want to know where else we can cut this budget instead of off of benefits for employees? Aren't there other places that we can look at?
Well, I mean, you could choose to not do police officers or.
Not do, not, you mean get rid of them?
Well.
Then what would we do with the courthouse?
You could do that too, but I mean, you could not do the 4 officers, or you could do 2 officers, or 3 officers and 1 officer. So there's some savings there. I mean, you could totally wipe out a department. I mean, there's a lot of different options that you can do.
Well, I think it's unrealistic. We're already have less revenue. We got 600 and change less revenue this year than last year. So so 4 cents less in revenue. So, and we're cutting 2 employees. We need 4 police officers. I got some Shalom comparables to share. So I just think it's unrealistic to think that we don't have to raise taxes. We don't have to do it. I appreciate you made some kind of commitment to whatever, but the reality is inflation and these things. Right now, I think it's only, the increase is like 1.5, right, of this budget?
1.51% was proposed.
Right.
1.5 cent is 4.8% increase in the tax rate.
Or what?
4.8% increase in the tax rate.
Sorry, we were referring to the budget, the overall budget from last year increased 1.51% dollars wise.
That's what I saw. So it's well under inflation. This end that what is proposed is well under inflation. That's, you know, I've been here long enough to know that we are continually trying to improve and have money for things that were deferred, right? We all know that. We've got, just like the courthouse building, things were deferred. We don't know what their challenges were then, so I am not casting any stone with that because we are not there. But I will tell you that we're going to have to raise taxes. You can't, other people are having to raise them too. You can't keep the same thing and it not cost more.
In terms of Brunswick County, name a city out of the 19 municipalities who's raising taxes this year other than Caswell Beach from 19 to 22 cents.
It's a different tax base.
Leland's lowering theirs. Aldermen Island's lowering
They
theirs.
raised their 17%.
And every other one is keeping them the same.
Did Leland raise theirs last year? I don't know about
Theirs
that.
this year.
I'd have to do a study.
I think they raised their 17% last year.
And they're dropping theirs, Leland's dropping theirs this year from 27 to 25.
But they raised them 17% last year.
We're at 31 now.
It's a different size tax base too.
Yeah, I mean, they.
Well, I think I would
Tax
rather
base
us
like
talk about
$1
what we
billion
want to get rid of than, you know, making our employees carry this burden.
Yeah,
It just,
which is nice.
crazy.
Yeah, Logan poses a good question, you know, are there other areas of the budget we can get cut expenses as opposed to, getting skin in the game for the employees is what's it, Oak Island HR director told me today. That's why they charge $35 a month for health insurance.
They're required to charge that because they're on the state health plan.
Yeah, and they do
That's
charge it.
mandated by the state, not the
And they
town.
do charge it, and the 401k is a match. It's a match, except for police, except for police.
The decrease in the rate
But let's
of
talk about-
increase is a cut.
Well, let's talk about the real cost. So Joey, let's just go through these things that we're talking about.
Yes, sir.
And find out what it's gonna save the citizens to put the weight of this, deficit on the employees. And if anybody has any other ideas, because that's all I've heard, employee, it's all on the employee. Too many employees, we've got, too much overtime, that's employee related. Where is the real substance to these negotiations?
The substance of what we do is services.
So
That's
start
backed by
by,
employees. So,
let's start,
So I
we
want
can go
to
department by department if we want.
right, yeah, so you can decide again,
Let's not start with finance.
right?
I'd like to provide some context. So the way the budget was prepared, just over last year's adopted, personnel costs and inflation amounted to $1.2 million increase. In the proposed budget, we were able to cut out almost $974,000 of operational expenses, whether that was moved to capital. So just providing some context there. So that's where we got to the 15,318,229 over last year's, I believe it was what, 15,090,032 number.
So again, it's services, so we can cut out EMS today. We don't have to do that. We can not fund the new police officers. We don't have to do that and let police, just go as they have. We can cut out Parks and Rec, live without that. We can live without another department. I mean, everything we do services, which is backed by employees. So the only way to truly cut is to cut services.
Joey come up with some calculations. I believe that 4 new police officers, 2 of them are budgeted for July and 2 of them are budgeted for January.
Right. Correct.
Could we calculate the savings of pushing them back, the initial 2 to September 1, since there's no way it'll be
So
hard?
that saves approximately $12,600 per officer to push it back 2 months. So you're looking at roughly $6,000 a month per officer in total compensation.
It looks good on paper for the budget, but what it doesn't do is change the fact that the following year, we're gonna have 100% of that cost.
And hopefully the following year will be in better shape, tax base wise, because of all the new.
So we did the math on,
And then moving the January ones back 3 months to,
so you asked for 2 months originally in the email that Noah gave me.
okay, yeah, 2 months.
So an officer, I'm just gonna give the total compensation just to paint the whole picture for everybody. As it stands, the 2 officers budgeted to start on July 1, their total annual compensation is not accounting for equipment, anything like that. And this is benefits, the Christmas bonus, things of that nature. $8,448. If that officer starts on 9/1, that total compensation goes to $67,908. That's a cost savings of $12,540. The officer
Per officer, 70 times 2.
correct.
So roughly about $25,000.
$25,000.
To move them back 2 months. And how about moving the second group of 2 back 2 months?
It's roughly the same.
So
24,574.
That concept is smoke and mirrors.
So it's 50 grand.
Over here, we're saving money, but if he hires them on July 1st, what do you do?
You can't hire them on July 1st. He can't
I
hire
don't
them.
know what he can, he can't do, but us not budgeting for a full year.
You budget next year for a full year.
So,
And then you have to raise taxes.
Not necessarily, not
I do
necessarily.
understand.
Hopefully our tax base will be up next year.
We're 3
State
weeks.
government does not allow you to fund positions for 12 months when they realistically aren't gonna start till 2 months later. State government does not allow that kind of.
So I understand that. So I understand pushing back to September for recruiting purposes. I mean, we're 3 weeks from July 1. Is that very
Well, I think
likely?
that-
Absolutely.
Like with that, we're in like lease program for vehicle and stuff, and we may have some assets just sitting there not being used if we do that, because it's on a time base.
I'm not talking about
Does that
equipment.
make sense?
Yeah, equipment's got to be bought, that's fine.
So I think realistically, a 1 month savings makes the most sense. I mean, I think you could say it would take a month to fill positions. I mean, we fairly quickly fill
It's not
positions.
savings.
Because again, people want to come work for us. They just can't. Right.
The January position would likely
Well,
be
I mean,
bid.
in all honesty, what he said, I mean, it's gonna take a month to do background and all that stuff. So if we did post it, say July 1, that's absolutely correct. A month would suffice for that.
Now, the January 1, it's very likely those officers, we would start recruiting
We
well
would,
before that.
yes, that's exactly right. We would probably have those lined up to start January 1.
Yeah, we should not be overstating in the budget the cost of a position that realistically can't be hired on the.
I understand that concept.
And I-
Right, when the budget was created, there was the hope that we'd get them in July.
What was that 1 month savings? again?
The 1 month savings is about,
A little over 6,000.
6,000. The 2 month savings is 12,500 an officer, so that's 67
So it's 6,000 an officer,
per month.
so then 24,000 for 4 officers.
So 1 month back,
Well, no,
1 month back,
because-
say 12,000, 2 months
We're
back,
talking
say
1 month,
25,000.
2 officers.
That's correct.
Oh, that's right.
12,000.
Right, sorry, the 12,000 I gave was
You're
one
right.
officer for 2 months, so.
We got 12,600 to make up.
So could we, I mean, we have a lot of people talking, a lot of numbers. One officer, 1 month, how much?
6,300.
Okay,
Yes.
and we are
Sorry.
looking at 2 officers starting September the 1st, is that correct? And 2 officers starting January the 1st, 2027, is that correct?
Well, 1 month would be August, 2 months would be September.
Say again?
Starting on August 1 would save 12,000 for 2 officers. Starting on in September 1 would save about 25,200.
And yet, summertime is when we need them the most, is that correct?
And I just want to say this about the salaries and all, especially with the police officers, and this is from Charlotte. I could not get whatever budget they're working on now, it's just nowhere to be had. So I looked at their 26 budget and compared, and I just want us to understand that their salary figures for 2026 for police was $85,000 more than what we're proposing today, that our police chief has asked for today in this budget. So they're already over from their last year budget to what our police is offering. So I just want us to be apples to apples here, and Charlotte's a lot more consistent with us, I think, than Oak Island would be, as far as just.
I'm complete salary.
But that's what I'm saying, and it was over about 250,000 year to year. If you're looking at 26 of Charlotte and us for salaries, it was about $250,000 less wiggle.
Matt, do you
And
know
that's
how many officers they have? Or you-
I don't
Okay.
Yeah, I couldn't tell.
I haven't been able
And it was
When I was
complicated.
looking for their budget, I didn't see anything proposed.
But anyway, it doesn't matter, it's obvious that they're obviously got more officers, because they wouldn't be paying that much, right? So I'm sure it's their
My
competitive.
concern is just the start dates, that you don't over budget when you realistically can't start people in time.
And not based on
And we
that.
annualize the salaries next year. But hopefully we have a higher tax base because of all these new houses being built in South.
What are your part-time? You've got 4 or 5 part-time?
We have 4 right now, part-time uniform officers positions.
Are they the ones that you're gonna go after to fill these positions?
No, that we try to line up by part-time to where they're already sworn, they work with another agency, so we try to get them, where they're in schedule work. They basically take up when our guys are in training, vacation, stuff like that. We try to utilize them that way, it's just PRN type.
Do we double up in the summertime on those? or-
Occasionally, there was once a time, July 4th, we required a lot of our part-timers to come in all the time,
Yep.
you know, to work a lot of those events. It's getting more difficult to do that these days, though.
Right, and one of the things that we know, and I and HR have worked with emergency services, because part-time is so scarce, we've now developed a part-time pool of hours equivalent to 3/4 of an FTE spread across all their full-timers, trying to budget, well, how many is this one gonna work? When you may have one part-timer work 100 hours, you may have one work 900 hours. That's 1,000 hour employee with those two. So that's something that we're developing. That's what's built into the budget this year. And I think it's so far, everybody seems on board with that to assist.
What's our turnover in the police department? There was a time, I think we're going back 2-3 years, when it was a rapid turnover. We basically were a training program. As soon as we got everybody trained, they went to the sheriff's department or somewhere else.
Yeah, and I know Ferguson and Floyd, all this stuff, you know, took place, but what helped our city, because I remember I came in 2020, and, of course, my family was grown, but we did have some new officers they had to get family coverage. And at that time, I couldn't believe the amount of money they were having to pay monthly for the insurance. And then you guys did something, pulled some strings, changed some money, and it actually helped. But we did lose some good officers back during those 2 years. And then you guys actually did add a little bit more to the benefits package, which helped tremendously. And there's some potential for our police department back here, and I'm sure the fire department probably saw.
So it's very low. We don't
The
have.
county, what's the entry level of the county? Now, I heard 62.
I'm not really sure. I'm not really sure what the county's starting. I know they're having an issue too with employment.
Yeah.
As well.
The county's advertising in Wilmington for even the sheriff's department. So when they start advertising.
And I don't know what this is for entry level, we've built in, right?
Right.
New
That's
VLET, fresh
that's correct.
VLET.
Yeah, that's correct.
And so this is at 49,500 as their starting
Yeah,
salary.
and we do have like a PDO 1, 2, 3, 4, BDO 1, that'd be like police officer 1, which would be basically a cadet. Say we found somebody VLET, we like them, we've already done some type of background, we can actually pay them to continue out. We can also bring them in to the office to work on other evidence and stuff like that. We've only utilized that maybe twice since I've been here. And it is helpful, but we actually do have some good attention right now. So let's keep this forward momentum going, guys, because we do have
Well,
some good
to
attention.
that point, I mean, if we're gonna start cutting the employees and causing them to make less than what, this year than they did last year, then, and I know Alderman Davis, you used to be a proponent of, the Board of Aldermen not taking stipends. I've been that way since I came on this board. We recommended it'd be a savings of $84,000 a year if we didn't. If we're gonna stick it to them, we should have some skin in the game. I'm just saying, it's 84,000, it's much bigger than a $12,600 fine or any of these other things.
So in context, if we were to give Todd his 4 new positions and only moved him back 2 months from what they're currently budgeted each, all July 1 to September 1, January 1 to March 1, you save $50,400. That's a pretty good chunk of change, 50,000, just by moving them back 2 months. Todd still gets his 4 positions.
But they're saying that January they could fill immediately, or, January they could fill immediately.
I'm just throwing those numbers out.
So I'm good with you. So I'd say let's go ahead and make that change in the budget for 2 months for the July. But the January, I think realistically, we can fill those in January, and I don't know why we wouldn't wait if we need it.
Or if you could tell them soon
Okay.
and not lose that value.
But that's the consensus, and that'll say
But that's over
25,000.
100, between that idea and mine, we're over $100,000 in savings. Let's keep up those numbers.
So you're not proposing cutting or not filling 4 positions. Your proposal is the timing of the filling
I think that's what
position. Is that
saying, yeah.
correct?
Pushing, well, what Robert said, let's push back the first 2. What, 1 month, Robert?
I'll do the 2 months.
2 months.
I think you're right.
The 2 months. By the time you advertise, interview, on board, they have to get a notice or whatever. Yeah, there's 25 grand right there. And then the other 2 would be, say, at January 1 as a current budget. There's 25 grand.
200 in savings. Then the January one.
And Mr. Gross, with that, when you say January 1, yeah, we're so picky with our selection anyway, so that January 1 may end up being February. You know, it could be into March.
You can
It's not gonna
advertise,
be.
you can advertise in September.
Well, hopefully we can advertise in July. It's gonna take that long to get. So,
Yeah, but you still get.
So this is kind of like a straw decision here. We add 4 police officers, 2 start 2 months later
September 1,
for a saving of a total of 50,000.
25,200.
Say again,
25,200 left
for both of them or
Yes.
each?
for both of them.
Okay. And then we fill the other 2 in January as planned. So how does that come out to 50,400?
Well,
It does.
it doesn't, that's if we had pushed the 2 January ones back to March 1.
Okay, so not January, March 1.
So yes, I just changed those dates to September 1st for those 2, and it's 26,378 back into the budget.
So all in all, what we would be doing with these officers, filling the positions, but changing the timing of the hire would save us what?
What you just said.
26,378.
One person at a time, please.
26,000.
All of that would save us
$26,378.
26,000.
378, and that is pushing the 2 officers from July 1 to September 1.
If you push the 2 January 1 officers back to March 1 low, it would save another 26,000.
But we're pushing them because all we're trying to do is write the budget, y'all. This is not really saving money, but the only thing is you just want to direct the reader. It's gonna be.
If
So
we
as an
only hire,
example on the,
if we only hire 2 officers, it saves how much?
$180,000.
The other 2 officers, 1 second, when I get back to that screen, sorry.
just to give you an idea, Oak Island's mayor, stipend is just over 10,000, almost 11,000 a year. Council is just about 7,500. BSL is 4,000 per year. Council is around 3,000. Sunset Beach, 2,205, and Holden Beach is 1,800, with council making 1,200.
You're not talking about the same thing. You're talking about something else. You're starting something else.
We're back
You're not talking about police. You're talking about us.
I'm talking about 80,000. I was talking about our stipend.
Yeah, you're bringing something into the conversation.
Sorry.
I was there, and yeah, you want to bring it down. That's what you're trying to do. You're trying to bring it to the same thing.
Yeah.
I'm
But if we
telling
only
you.
hire 2 officers.
So, right, so if we cut the 2, if you only hired 2, you did not hire the 2 slated to start in January, it would be a savings of 80,500 total, because they're only budgeted for the 6 months of the year.
Say that one more time. If we did not hire,
If we only hired the 2 officers in September, and we cut out the 2 that are set to be hired in January, it would be another $80,500. It's 40,250 total cost per officer for that 6-month period.
so the question is, what do we lose in service if we only hire 2?
We'll be asking for more next year.
I'm sorry?
We would be asking for more next year. I mean, we're just trying to get, if you looked at our whole budget in general, we operate very lean. I mean, we're tight. We operate tight. I'm a tight guy. That's just the way it is. And so we operate on that basis, but also we're strapped with our manpower now. And that's the issue. We need to just get caught up. We're not even going to get ahead of the curve with these 4 officers. We're just going to barely get caught up. And so that's why we've asked for the 4, because the last couple of years, we were told not to ask for any. And that's all we did. We didn't ask for any. So it's kind
It's
of
a safety issue. It really is. It's a safety issue.
Well,
Manpower issue.
In the past, we have asked about what could we do to cut down the hours that the police work by having auxiliary police trained in traffic control and so on. So many of the events that we have require a significantly increased police presence during the duration of the event, 4th of July especially. Is there a way to cut down on use of sworn police officers? And using,
as far as like civil patrols, like the civilian coming on board for traffic detail. I think events, unfortunately, due to, today's times and the happenings that's going on, they're wanting police presence, not just some volunteer, a lot of these functions and events. I do encourage the use of ODM, the officer, off-duty management system that we have. That would save the city a lot of money by us not having to require our police to come in and overtime to come in and to help out with these events. But we have like the whole block from Atlantic all the way to Howe, that generally there should be 2 officers down there at these events, car shows or any other type of festivals. If they would pay through the off-duty management, that's all overtime money. That's all overtime money. But also adding 4 positions, all of our training, our court, you gotta remember courts, that's during the daytime. Usually we're mandating them to come in on their off day for court because we don't have coverage. This allows extra coverage to help with all that over time. So, I'm looking forward to seeing what all we're gonna be able to do. We're hoping it's gonna just smooth us out where we can actually become a proactive police department versus a reactive, which is what we've been for the last several years.
And the statistics in here, since 22, they have had an 88% increase in service calls. 88%.
well, I know that you get
Had
some bonus.
officers added since then.
No, we have.
So since
And matter of fact, to speak on that, we actually lost two of our primary part-time officers that we would have to say, October, no, you can't work anymore because they already had about 1,000 hours. Have that anymore. We have part-timers that can come in just sporadically every now and then. So we've been hurting in that aspect. We actually hired one of them, of the part-times. We charged up in the foot there, but he's a very good officer. But he was working about 1,000 hours a year, part-time. So we were able to satisfy that need. We're not now.
A citizen, actually several citizens have asked me, do our police officers have to deal with shoplifting calls, say at Walmart, the grocery stores, the big box stores and so on?
We do, anytime there has to be like an identification made or any extra step that goes in with the investigation, our officers have to follow suit and charge that person or whatnot. Now, if the store knows who they are and all that stuff, they can go ahead and take out their own charges when it's misdemeanor. There's you have felony amount, which an officer has to do, and then you have misdemeanor amounts, and they can take out charges. But I will say the only benefit that I see with us moving near Walmart is we have seen a whole lot less shoplifting at the Walmart.
Keep it there.
Yeah, any crime.
Station there. Substation at Walmart.
I can afford to let them start September 1. Have we already talked about that?
Yes, that's good. We're good there in 2 January. So 4 officers, September starting and then January starting.
So say it's 25 grand, 26 grand.
Correct.
370.
26 or 78. There we go.
So we were talking about increasing only 2 officers, starting in September, and thereby saving $80,000. Okay, versus starting 2 in September and then starting 2 in January or March. So we got a number of options here, and I'd really like to see that on paper. The various options and what kind of combinations. We could have, 2 officers starting at this time, 2 officers starting at that time.
That's what you just.
Only 2 officers and not having the additional.
You can quantify that an officer is gonna cost $6,300 per month
Okay.
is what this breaks down to.
But I think we agreed to hire soon September and soon January.
Not really. Yeah, I'm not, the 2 in January, I'm still considering. And why do we have to do 2 at a time? One.
I kind of agree with 2 at a time with training and that kind of thing. It just makes it a little bit easier.
It is. We have a few field training officers, and so that way they can spend time with this one and this one. And also, to me, because I started with Charlotte, we had several rookies, and so we could actually bounce ideas off of each other as well, which helps out. You kind of carry each other along the way.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Again, the 2 in January is quick, because you got 4 or 5 more months, and then they can get the next 2 in the next budget. You said at the beginning, we're establishing something we'll have to pay for next year. We don't just want to hire somebody and then say next year, we don't want you anymore.
I agree. I don't want this moving here.
So I definitely want to slow roll it and think about it. I need to talk to the chief, see how many times we arrest.
The 4 officers are responsible for his needs are.
Yes,
And that's what I'm saying. So if we postpone, we're not giving him what he needs to be successful.
I would rather.
I mean, we're setting a continued unrealistic goal that they're gonna have more overtime, they're gonna have all the things that everybody else is worried about. Then it's clear that by adding 4 officers, it's gonna reduce overtime and some of the other, and part-time.
It would really be a wash. I mean, if you don't fund the other 2 officers, I'm gonna put back in overtime. It could be about the same amount.
And how much would that be?
Well, the savings would be 80,000. So we had to put back in overtime and part-time.
And that would be,
80,000 is what the 2 officers are.
yeah, I got that, but how much would we have to put back in for?
I think you're
overtime?
all of it. I mean,
One at a time.
what was our overtime?
I think, Matt, we worked with that, yeah, it was overtime, we reduced by 42,000
Yeah, it's not cut it in half. We cut the overtime in half. And
by
I just,
hiring 4 new officers. It's $42,000 in overtime.
So if we only hired 2 officers, we would be then having to put back in 42,000 in
For
overtime.
just overtime and then rebuilding the part-time as well.
I think that there's an opportunity to try and rebuild part-time there. And I think I would like to see 2 officers hired in September. And then trying to rebuild part-time with the potential for those part-time officers becoming full-time.
What he just said is that you're spending the same money.
Yeah, just hire.
Rebuilding the part-time is going to take the 40,000 in overtime plus the part-time and get you to the 80,500.
In theory, we don't know that for sure. I would like to see what actually happens in real life.
particularly our part-timers, we pull from other agencies, just as our officers, you can work with 2 agencies, full-time with one, part-time with another. So typically we do that. We pull from them. Unfortunately, the ones we have a few of those that are actually able to work more than others. And so that's where we're at with that. It's just getting harder to find.
Joey, did I misunderstand your statement? When you meant rebuild part-time, you meant.
Right, it's putting that money back in the budget to pay the part-timers.
And so we're looking at how much for that?
Employees.
So originally it was 32,000, and we'd cut that by 17,000. And we cut overtime by 42,000, so that is roughly $70,000.
So you're.
So
you put those in-
89,000?
Right, so, okay, the cost of the 2 officers starting in January is 80,500. To add that back in, that's a $10,000 difference, 11,000.
So you're saying 70,000 to go, to have a part-time employee
And overtime.
and the overtime, or 80,500 to get employees that work for us and are happy.
It seems like an easy decision. Get the full-time.
But we're stepping over dollars to pick up dimes.
Yeah.
Did the
In my
part-timers
opinion,
get health
You know,
insurance
these
benefits?
low-hanging fruits are not where you save money.
Is that number-
in the budget.
The 80,500 I gave you was totaling insurance and everything. The 70,000 I just gave you for overtime and part-time. I mean, that doesn't include any benefits that they don't receive. So that's just straight $69,000 to $70,000.
Okay, so the part-timers don't get any other benefits.
And we need to find 200, how much money do we need to find in order to not raise taxes?
$293,500.
No,
Say that again.
the penny and a half is
Right,
How much?
283,
159.
so about 240.
Right. Plus it.
Oh, you said 280, sorry.
So we need to cut $240,000 from the budget in order to not have a tax increase. Is that correct?
That's right. Right now.
But you also need to keep in mind that we have an additional 1 cent that we're not benefiting from that we have in the past. So, you know, I look at it as kind of like a 2.5 cent.
Right, so you've cut it in half.
So
You're increasing in a way, which is a decrease.
So where do we find $240,000?
house, we got 26,000 due to.
So as it stands right now, with updating, merits and everything, we did find there were a few other, the system was pulling in part-time employees and getting that, so we reduced that, and now the merit structures in the system, just full-time. And the 2 officers moving to September, That's cut expenses $46,250 from what was proposed.
46,250.
So we only have
Plus, if we don't hire the two next year, as Rebecca was recommending, that's an additional 80,500.
That would be.
But except we have to do the
Oh,
70.
you're gonna have to add it, so. The 46,250 is what we're saying so far.
I guess that'd be something you have to work with Matt on if we do. We took out all that overtime and the part-time with the assumption of 4 officers being added, so that number may fluctuate depending on how much overtime we see needed for 2 officers, how much part-time will be needed for 2 officers. So there may be another 10 to 15,000.
Anybody got any least favorite departments?
I don't know if I'm stating this correctly, but the fund balance has really gone up over the last 5 years, 4.5 million, to 13, 14 million. We're almost at the end of the fiscal year for closeout. Are we looking at, and typically the unexpended funds get rolled over, as you shared with me, to the fund balance. Are we looking at a substantial savings in this fiscal year to roll money over into fund balance?
No, because of the loss of revenues, we are expected to have to use more fund balance this year.
That's how we know that.
I believe right now we're anticipating that being, if you have the numbers about $1 million, and I'll have to pull the nut, it's around $1 million that we'll have to cover with the loss of revenues.
Yeah, the loss of revenues is a big concern. I think all of us, I served on the board as liaison to the ABC board. For 5 consecutive years, the ABC board budgeted over $500,000 to the city in revenues. During the current fiscal year, FY26, they only budgeted $315,000. That number was allegedly communicated to City Hall, but somehow it did not arrive in time or did not arrive at all. We don't really know. So City Hall in FY26 budgeted around 580,000, Joey, for ABC revenues. And the ABC board only budgeted 315,000. Now, the ABC board has done their draft budget for this year, and they've had some increases in operational expenses. Sales is down a little bit. They aren't drinking enough liquor, so, but we bought a bacon. We bought a bacon. We got a new building we're having to make payments on. And they've only budgeted $264,000 in FY27, and I've hand delivered that number to Noah to make sure we don't have any miscommunication this year. Now, we do have an ABC board meeting this Tuesday, I think, Tuesday or Wednesday. I intend to ask the chairman and the board to reconsider the 264 and at least budget what you did this current year, which is about 315,000. So I intend to ask them, I can't promise they'll vote for it, but I will be asking for another 50,000. Please at least budget what you did in FY26 and give to the city for FY27. So that could potentially give us another 50K. All I can do is ask. I don't have a vote. I'm not on the board, but I do represent the Southwood Board of Aldermen. I'm trying to get them to share all their profits with us, which they are required by law. However, according to the law, they're already exceeding the minimum that they have to give us. So they've been very generous. And I don't want to discount their generosity to the city of Southwood. They've been very generous. But I hope they'll keep their revenues at what they had this past year.
Was some of this based on an auditor's recommendation?
There was an auditor's recommendation that they did not have enough working capital. And that was one of the reasons that they decreased it. But their working capital has grown. It's up over 500,000 a month now, working capital. So, and I talked to their auditor and I said, well, did you mean for them to get back? They needed to grow from 250 to about 500,000 in working capital. And I asked the auditor, did you need for them to get it all back in 1 year and take it out of City of Southport, 250. He said, no, it could have been done partially. So I said, it'd be nice if they'd do it 50,000 a year over the next 4 or 5 years, but it is what it is. But I'll make that request on Tuesday and I'll let you know what they vote on.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys, for your time and dedication. It's not easy. I gotta run.
I think you're kind of getting up to about 96,250. Good, how are you?
Any other cuts?
One thing, just, we keep talking about next year as well. Next year is a reevaluation year as well. So we need to kind of start looking at that until, if everything at the state continues as it is.
Yeah, I'm concerned about the state's involvement. I mean, they've already put a hold on a lot of the evaluation simply because of the shift. So I can't imagine that they wouldn't do the same to us when we get to that point.
Oh, I think we can imagine that they're doing it.
I think,
Take that.
yeah, I think their budget proposals only affect certain counties and we're not involved.
Well, it's not a budget. That's
Probably.
There's a FY 27 freeze for reval.
right.
Working through now, so depending on if you resurrect that next year or not.
I mean, the way things are going, if you only believe that.
No, do we have any opportunities to sell any vehicles?
The budget does include some surplus property that the fire department has. Tom Stanley sold quite a bit of surplus material this year. I don't know that there is much other property, not land, in terms of personal property. I don't know what is.
Robert made. When I ride by the Parks and Rec, I see a big bus and I see several vehicles. I don't know if they're all needed or not, but
I think it's a matter of, do you want to continue before after school care or not?
And summer camp. So the bus holds, I believe, 55. The bus is owned outright. The board had decided in the past to maintain or retain the bus for emergency purposes. In case of emergency happened to,
Evacuate, I think. the
Correct.
bus has been used to take care of, well, it's not on care of now, whatever.
and then last budget, the board approved, another 15 passenger van for Parks and Rec. So that gave them 3 15 passenger vans to transport children in lieu of using the bus. So one of those vans is owned outright, the other 2 are on lease.
so, I mean, I don't have a problem with summer camp. It seems like a unneeded program, but do we need a bus and 3 vans? Or could we get back with a bus and 2 vans?
With the number of kids that was in the summer program, it was needed,
The bus?
it was.
Yeah.
I mean,
So,
So
and
can they
they,
keep the bus and sell one of the vans?
so they opted to use the vans because the vans have seatbelts for all the children. The bus does not have any seatbelts. So it was a safety thing. That's why they asked for the extra bus
And I
last
think you
year.
have to have a different level of
Correct.
driver's
The
license.
bus has to have a CDL, which the staff does. I believe still the staff on, those retained has their CDLs. The 50 passenger vans is just your regular standard driver's license.
Isn't this bus supposed to be decrepit and on its last legs or axles?
yes, it's not.
Yeah, Tom's,
It's
the
not
garage has
a
done
Cadillac.
some,
I'm sorry?
No, it's not a Cadillac.
I mean, isn't it like 25 years old?
Yes, it is.
it's quite old, yes, ma'am.
But in an emergency, if you can get out of town on it, you'll be glad you did.
I believe, was it used during PTCA?
It didn't break down.
Which one?
Well, lucky for us, we would on call from the garage that can go out and do.
That's right.
That's right.
We got a guy.
I'm talking about you.
We'll do it. Service, level of service.
You know.
Is the Bowling Spring property marketable?
I have to look. I think it is. I'm not sure exactly where it is, but I recall
Can
it.
you get us a list of all the videos?
Yeah,
That was a
I put
trade.
one together, I think.
You got.
South Carolina.
Yeah, it's straight from the tax roll.
They gave that property in exchange for it to have this church encroach on the, when they built the second church, it seemed like. I don't know if it's worth it, that's not part of it.
That's what I heard.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
There's quite a few of the properties we have in town looking at GIS that are kind of peculiar that I think the three that Alderman Gross was mentioning, Hankinson Road actually cuts through those three parcels. So it's, are they usable? So we can, if you want GIS, we can definitely pull that from the properties we own as well and get you guys.
Yeah, I think if you just give us a list of parcel IDs, that would be great.
Absolutely.
I mean, another option is, I think the biggest goal is to avoid a tax increase for some. If that's the goal, you could fund balance it all, instead of tax increases this year. If we'll see where we are this week with the hope of having the fire fee bill passed. If that does, that would lower our debt service fund balance, so we could utilize that we've already proposed.
I like that idea, Noah, because when I looked in comparisons to the other 19 municipalities, 2 of them are cutting their taxes, 1 of them is raising, the rest are staying the same, based on the surveys that I've done. If we could somehow work your magic numbers and not raise city tax, property taxes this year, that would certainly help me along with my vote in the future.
I think certainly, LGC doesn't want you to rely on that as we go forward, but I think, 200,000 is not gonna cause an alarm bell to go off.
Yeah. Did you work on that? You and Joey work on that?
Yes.
Well, then for Thursday night, are you gonna be coming back with a different proposed draft budget?
Well, you haven't really done anything.
There will be,
We will
we have
definitely.
expenses, so we have to adjust revenue,
Yes.
so we'll reduce fund balance.
Others that you have, we will have a revised copy, yeah.
Okay, so for the public as well, they need to see the proposed budget and then the different possible scenarios and what those would produce in a saving or an increase.
So you're asking Noah to present his manager's budget and then a budget that we have also created some savings within.
Well, just a list and an explanation of different possibilities that we have discussed. If we do this, then we would say that. If we do this, we would say this.
So
And
what
so
about,
on.
is
then we
there a
can-
consensus of what the board would like those to be? We can absolutely put that together outside of, so right now, my notes, I had the,
Savings for the police for 2 months. That's what I've got.
Right.
An additional 46,250. What was that?
so there was the merit, the system was calculating merit for part-timers, and the taxes and everything, so that was 19,865
But it's in
savings.
fund balance, correct, so it would not affect general fund.
It's still an expense taken out.
Right.
Yeah, so
So
that was a reduction, that was a good change, not bad, just
I have to say, it is very hard to follow some of this because one of us asked a question and 5 people shout out figures and answers. For Thursday night, if you can synopsize all of this, your proposed budget and then the different scenarios for savings that have been proposed, what they would be, what the possibilities and savings are, what the possibilities and the offset. Like if we did this, yeah, we would save this much, but then we would have to put back in overtime and part-time and so on. So that we have a very clear set of scenarios to make an informed decision and so that the public can see what possibilities there are. Yes, sir.
Can we go ahead and do some of that right now? Can we go through that list right now about what those are?
I'd like to see it in writing.
I agree wholeheartedly. I'm asking for it to come to the board then, but from my consideration between now and Thursday, I'd like to know what we're talking about. We've really not done
It's
much.
not that many points. I mean, if
So are you asking for, the board hasn't consensusized around anything other than 2 months? Or are you asking for what Alderman Gross presented in the beginning about, employees contributing everything, there was no consensus on
All the
the.
different things that we have discussed, but kind of left hanging about ways to save money out of this budget. And that includes changes in employee benefits, the $35 per month for employees' contribution to 401k, changing spousal coverage for insurance, and so on. The different officers, the sale of property. Actually, we don't have a dollar figure for that, so probably not. But what are the different things that we have talked about that might be cut from the budget?
Yeah, I think.
I would recommend that the only thing we've heard is the 2 months.
Yes, the 2
So
months.
let's go ahead and gain consensus on these other items that Alderman Gross has mentioned so that we can bring them to Thursday.
The things I'd like to hear is what we've already talked about with the police, pushing back the time.
The 2 months.
And I'm just throwing out these ideas, $35 a month contribution towards health insurance.
Can we get consensus on that?
I'm okay with 35.
I just want to go through these.
One at a time, you know.
And let's get consensus so that staff has direction for Thursday.
Yeah, good.
$35
A month employee health insurance contribution, so they'll have skin in the game.
Wait a minute, I thought that was 35 a month for 401k contribution.
That's the health insurance.
For health insurance?
Yeah, the 401k proposal would be dollar for dollar match. And I would exempt the police department because that's what Oak Island does to help attract the police department, police officers. So I would propose that for non-police officers, it would be a match for dollar for dollar match up to 5%. On the 401k though.
So that's the 401k. For health insurance, you want every employee to pay $35 a month.
$35 a month. I think they should have some small skin in the game.
Okay, but that's $35 a month for the employee's coverage. What about spouse?
Right now it's at 25%.
So to cut it to 25%.
So
Employees are not gonna have as much money.
These are just things he's listing.
Well,
I know, I'm just trying to see what,
Yeah.
what
Well,
our,
I know we will, but let's get them all written down and we'll go over it.
Well, I want it reinstated to 50, so throw that in there too.
Yeah.
So for spousal coverage, we got a 50, a 25, and a 0. The 3 options.
Is there anything else?
We talked earlier last week about increasing facility fees for our community buildings. I would like to see a 7% increase in our community fee rental for non-residents only. No increase for residents. But a 7% increase for community building fees for non-residents. I think, Robert, you made a statement that you keep raising them until people stop. So, you know, a $5,500 wedding from non-citizens, that would be about $5,800. Now, at $300, I don't think $300 is gonna stop them from renting our community building for a wedding.
it's not going to affect this budget because the community building is booked about 14, 15 months out.
Correct, yeah, I think it's booked in the first half.
Well, that's fine, but anybody that's not booked before anybody who books after this budget is passed, they have to pay the higher rate.
But I don't think it's gonna help us this budget.
It,
It would?
Yes, if those rates go effect July 1, if somebody comes in and on July 10th rents the building for a wedding in 2028, they're gonna pay half their, so that's the current method they use, is they pay half as a deposit. The other half is due, I think, 90 days, 90 or 60, somewhere between 1 and 3 months before the event.
I like seeing a 7% increase on our community building rentals for non-residents only. There's been a lot of talk about having the outsiders or the visitors help us with our infrastructure, and this is the way to do it.
So can we talk about the $35 contribution to health insurance and get consensus?
Was that all that you had?
The 401k, the health insurance, raising the community building rentals,
All right, sounds like a good list.
All right, let's start with, yeah, those are the
I think we can all agree on the rent. So let's start there. Rents, we're all in agreement. We're raising rents on non-resident.
Are you talking every single event or just weddings?
Because we do charge a non-resident rate, like hourly rate.
It's really a rate committee
That's right.
conversation. It really isn't, typically, we don't just, and we can, but the
Well,
rate
let's make
committee
that
brings it
recommendation.
to, you know, the
We'll
rate
take you
committee.
on the rate committee.
You know, the rate committee typically brings stuff to them, you know, has all that discussion.
we're in a budget crisis. I don't think we got time to wait on the rate committee.
Well, are we talking about weddings or all uses?
I'd be open to discussion, either one of me. Anything's better than what we got now.
Non-residents primarily, it's weddings. We don't have many hourly non-residents unless it's for a event.
Let's do 7% increase in wages.
All
For
I would
non-resident.
do all use.
All use.
I would do all use.
All you got, Tyler?
Well, and I would just say maybe it's not 7% necessarily, it's whatever the next round dollar
Right,
amount
that's what
would
we'll
be.
plan to do, around that ballpark figure.
I just want to make sure we're not.
87 cents.
Right.
Yeah. We'll get it to like an
Yeah, yeah.
25, 50.
Right, like,
Yeah.
Yeah. We round up with the cash register.
Right, and that's.
Or whatever.
I have a quick question, for the calculations of the $35 a month per employee, is that on top of what those that have some sort of dependent coverage is added onto that? They would still pay $35 a month? Or is this just for employees that are unemployed?
It's just $135 a month per employee. I don't care whether they have dependent or non. or they
Okay,
don't
I
have
just want to make sure.
So this would be a $35 a month, payment for the premium, the cost of the premium
Also their health insurance.
versus nothing.
Correct. Same as, basically same as what Oak Island actually goes from 35 to 60 something. But I'm suggesting we just cap it at 35 as a minimum.
So at 90 employees, assuming 4 officers, that $35 a month is $37,800.
Okay, how many are,
37,800?
Yes, sir.
I'm struggling honestly, because when it comes to staff, I just think that that's one of our greatest assets. And I mean, we're lucky to have you now, Noah. But I think 4 managers, 39, next time here. That's, I mean, and why? I mean, some of them were horrible, but, you know, and it didn't happen when we came on this board. It was happening before. So there's turnover for a reason. There was turnover in staff. Miss Bonnie was, I think it was Miss Bonnie that was instrumental in getting a pay study done. And it was Miss Bonnie, I think it was. And so, you know, we do all these studies and we do all the asking the experts, and then, you know, and phone in a friend, and then we just go and make our own decision, and it's not always a good thing. So I'm struggling with that one. When it comes to any of these things, whether it be the $35 contribution or 401k dollar match, or even the 1,000, it'd be interesting to know how many of our employees are actually taking advantage of. You said 17? Yeah.
I can, as soon as we get back, I can talk to Patty, since we just completed open enrollment, see how many signed up for some sort of dependent coverage. You guys understand?
Right, and Oak Island is 35 for the lowest tiered salary employee. They go all the way up to $80 a month. I'm not suggesting go to $80. I think 35 for the initial skin in the game for the employees is fine.
Well, one of the troubles I have with that is that you keep, so that employee that's now making less money this year, the guy at the bottom is not benefiting nearly as much as, you know, I mean,
They're gonna get COLA.
yes, but they're getting hit with this, that's a break even, and they're getting hit with the same. So Noah, who's at the top of the, he's getting hits for 35, and somebody that's out working, I don't know where,
Cut grasses.
cutting grass is paying the same 35. There's 35 for the guy cutting grass, and the 35 for Noah is a different number.
Let me just say this, maybe we should do away with merit then, because merit breaks down to $21 a week, a pay period. $21, so we're gonna give them $21 a pay period, but we're gonna charge them $35 for insurance.
So keep in mind
I'm
that
just saying,
the health insurance premium is pre-tax. So if $35 comes out of your paycheck, they're actually will not see $35 coming out of their paycheck. It'll probably be closer to around $30 because of pre-tax.
There are 23, Patty just told us, 23 individuals have some sort of dependent coverage.
But again, you understand that the guy that's making at the bottom of the totem pole, the $35 means more for him than it does for him.
So what he's describing is a
If you're
regressive
making if you're making
It's what the
$20,000 a
state is
year,
actually doing. So the $35 stems from the lowest amount of state employee pays. I do believe it goes up to 80 based on a table that is set by
And
the
that's the
state.
state requirement. The vast majority of local government, city and county, 100% cover health insurance.
So there are municipalities in our,
it's full.
I was trying.
right, and so there are some of those municipalities in our demographic, that 25 to 5,000 that are on the state health plan, that pay that premium for their staff.
Between 35 and 80, depending on their salary.
But the city is still paying that first, there are cities out there doing that.
The city's paying it for the employee?
According to the league study, yes, based on when looked at who was on the state health plan, they were covering 100% of their employees' premium.
So to your point, just those players and citizens and everything, the gas tax. It's regressive, it's needed, but it's regressive because depending on what you make, whereas a ad valorem tax or the income tax is based on what you own or what you make, so it's not regressive.
The
So
gas
it's
tax is
not
based
as-
on how much you drive.
Well, what I'm saying is that cost is the same for whoever your purchase is.
And I think the guy,
Who's making
tooling around in his Porsche is probably putting more miles on it than the guy going to and from work trying to make ends meet. Is the point.
I put a
Yes.
whole lot of miles in mine going to and from work to make ends meet.
And you're going a lot of other places too, dog.
That's.
Come on. I appreciate your point, and you're not wrong, but at the same time, the guy that's spending the money on gas tax
Yes,
is probably the guy with them.
or sales tax,
So,
but
but
anyway, so to your
let's
point,
talk about the $35
Yeah.
contribution. Do we want to do it?
Okay, what does that say?
37,800.
One person, Joey.
If you'd like to. I didn't mean to interrupt,
I
sorry.
apologize.
No,
It wasn't directed at me.
37,800.
Okay,
That if we charge each employee who has health insurance $35 a month, we would be able to save how much out of the budget?
$37,800.
so how many, I'll be, Alderman, myself, you don't really in favor of that. Carol, how about you, Alderman?
I think so.
Okay, so that's three right there. Who else is in favor of it? Okay, Alderman Spencer, no. Alderman
If we're gonna do it, I wanna see it split, so it's not
A tiered,
35. Yeah,
like
I'd rather see
salary.
a tiered, program.
So it's four. Okay, four against. Okay.
The spousal coverage,
Spousal coverage.
so we're at 25, which was a 50.
57,000.
Yeah, savings. Do we want to raise it back to the 50%? Do we want to keep it at 25 or do we want to lower it to 0?
Okay, how many for, raising it to 50%, like the 50% where it was?
I would go with that because we're essentially, even with the COLA, our employees, our employees will be,
Same thing.
our employees will be making less money if we do this.
All right.
So we are currently at 50%. Is that correct?
Yeah, we previously were at 25.
The budget, the proposed budget is at 25. We're currently at 50.
Right.
Correct.
I'm not willing to change that.
Ms. Three, anyone else?
I'd like to keep it at the 25 in the budget.
I'd like to keep it at 25 in the budget also, that saves how much, Joey?
57,640.
50%.
That number was 57,000.
640.
4-1, excuse me.
So that is to
Say that
go, to-
number, the
Just
final
keep it at
number again,
50%.
total. From Joey,
So the money we have to come up with is gone up.
just from Joey.
Yep.
The difference between us covering 25% versus 50% is 57,000.
640. So the budget, if that's what the board's direction is to add the extra 25% back to get 50%, yes, the budget will increase that. So with the number we had from officers, we're ballpark around $11,000 to come up with, or that flipped.
The $57,000 that we're saving by cutting from 50 to 25, now we gotta come up with that as a tax increase, which is, another, what, 2% tax increase?
Give me just a few minutes and I'll give you the number we have to come up with.
One of the things too, I just want to go back, the 1.5 tax increase for a $200,000 house is $30 a year. I just want us to understand that we're gyrating around all of that, all the way up to 2 million. If it's a $2 million house, it's $300 increase a year on 2 million.
We were talking about revenues and how hoping that revenues were growing. I mean, like the General Assembly has put a cap on our revenues with the maximum that you can charge on property tax. So the idea that we're gonna have more revenue in the future, they've already seen that.
Well, is it the maximum we can charge or is it a percentage
So-
increase year over year?
So-
Which I think is horrible, because what it causes municipalities to do then is raise their rates every single year consistently, because they have a maximum.
So in current law, you can't charge more than $1.50 per $100 assessed value. So that's already in law. There's a constitutional amendment that will be on the November ballot that will restrict. It's very vague language, just basically says the General Assembly will have the right to regulate property tax, which they already do. The thinking behind the scenes is they will come back and cap that on what you can do every year, percentage base. So you'll only be able to raise maybe whatever cost of living is, or they'll cap assessed value. So we really don't know exactly where that's going, other than the constitutional amendment that's very vague, that'll be on the ballot. Joey?
So far, with the 50% dependent coverage, moving 2 officers to September. Now the budget, you have to come up with $11,365. That is a negative value, so expenses exceeding revenues for that number.
Say that number again, please.
$11,365 as it stands with the changes the board has just made.
Plus the 240,000, give or take, in order to, we have to do away with all of that to come up. to break even.
Correct. So to break even, no tax increase, we're looking at about $251,000.
Just to recap the vote. The vote was 4-2 not to ask the employees to pay $35 a month for their health insurance. Correct. And Rebecca and I were the only one that voted for a tiered system or a minimum.
The consensus, correct.
For the family coverage, 50%, leaving it as it is. 4-2. That was 4-2, and that was Rebecca and I again. And we were, I was for Noah's budget of 25%.
I mean, just as a matter of principle, I think that we can cut this budget in other areas without taking it away from the employees.
Well, please come up with a solution, because I will not vote for any budget that includes an ad valorem tax increase. Because every other municipality can do it, but us. We can't seem to do it, folks. No, we're gonna raise taxes, we're already second highest in the county, out of 19. But please come up with a solution, because
We were hoping you would. You're the tax guy.
Well, I'm
You
throwing out some ideas.
served as interim finance manager when these rates were going up.
I know,
And oversaw Parks and Rec in their issue.
I didn't get to vote when I was interim finance director. But, yeah, I'm open to anything you can come up to keep from raising property tax. For the people in this city, you're driving them out because of the high cost of living, especially our minority community.
That is,
That's a broad statement.
That's-
I think that people sell their homes because they can get more for them today than they ever have been. And I've seen that time and time again, and they go out and find a brand new home in a community nearby that still affords them the opportunity to come and visit. I struggle to think that it's our tax.
I'm open to
And
that.
I agree with you, we need
I'm open to
to.
other ideas.
I'm open to other ideas other than getting.
You just don't do it on the backs of the very people that are doing the work and providing service.
Oak Island seems to be fine with their budget, $35 or $80 a month for health insurance. A match on the 401k that we don't do, ours is free.
Now, I am in favor of that. A dollar for dollar match on 401k. And I
We haven't even
believe
acknowledged that yet. We haven't taken that to.
Yeah. What, I've got many things right here in front of me. Dollar for dollar on 401k. What would that save us?
We don't
It
know.
doesn't say that it's a very, if they spend, if they match, we're spending the money anyway.
Okay.
So there's no way to quantify it until we actually see the implementation.
But right now, it's about 50%
Right.
contribute something. We don't know if they contribute the full 5% or something less. But right now, we could estimate that 50% don't contribute now. When it's totally free, we're doing the full 5%. So I doubt that they would contribute, well, maybe. But if half of them did not contribute, what would that be in terms of the savings? They didn't want to contribute and got no match from the city. If half did not want to do it.
So last fiscal year 25, the city paid $301,000 towards employees' 401ks.
301,000 for 401k contributions.
Yes, ma'am.
So if half of them don't want to do it, there's 150K right there.
I believe today's year-to-date number now. Please know we still have 2 payrolls left this month. 285,000 is what we've paid year-to-date for 401ks.
So probably just over.
Right, it'll be around the same number.
So then the lower paid person who can't afford to maybe put the full 5% will be the one bear penalized. I'm
Well, Oak Island doesn't. Except they do exempt for police. They exempt.
Well, so then we're gonna, and I'm pretty sure
Compute the properties of the law.
we're trying, and we're giving
So if we exempt,
somebody to another.
So basically, we're saying, okay, we currently pay 301,000 toward employee 401k. We are assuming that if we start a dollar for dollar match requirement, that we would discourage people who are currently in the program from continuing. Am I understanding this correct? We're trying to save 300 and something out of the 301,000 by having fewer people participate. That's what it comes down to.
That's what it appears to be, but it's like when they did studies in the Medicaid program in the 70s and 80s, they increased the copay. So as they increased the copay, they decreased access, and that's how they try to save money. And that's it, and it doesn't work because they end up coming in sicker. So, you know.
I doubt if many of the employees live on Oak Island either. I'm sure a lot of their employees live outside of Oak Island. In the county.
I don't know about that. Oak Island's big. I don't have any figures on
I don't know.
it. Just-
It's not all oceanfront, it really is
Yeah.
not. So,
Well, they've got a great
community.
diversity of
Yeah.
housing.
It is, yeah.
What they have, what is it, 15,000
At least.
roughly? And I don't
I
think
just
there's
shared
any-
it.
So where are we gonna come to a consensus on the 401k match or not? Can we go, Karen?
Yeah.
Yes or no?
Dollar for dollar.
Is that exempting the police department? Because I'm fine doing exactly what Oak Island does.
I don't think I'm in the audit way. I'm no audit.
What, say again, what Oklahoma does?
dollar for dollar match up to 5%. But the police department is exempt and they get the 5% without a contribution. For retaining police, helping with police retention.
But I don't understand how their retention is, no harm meant, chief. I love you and I support you guys and y'all know that, I hope. I don't know why their retention is any more important than retaining a city manager. You talk about how we've gone through city managers. Why is that not important? Why is a finance director not important? Why is our city clerk, who's doing an amazing job, by the way, not important?
I agree. We have two amazing.
So I don't understand why there's a difference.
I agree.
We had a citywide survey or study completed that brought us where we are today with how we pay our people. So I don't know how you pick and choose what departments have more important, not that police is anyone's, but I say that it's wrong to give us mention, not all.
And this 301,000 we're looking at, $301,000, that is anticipated based on the possibility that people will drop out of the program. That's not a straight, certain 301,000.
Well, that's what it cost us in 25. So we hope to realize a savings. But, the best thing that can happen is employees start giving 5% of their money to, keep that cost where it is.
So Robert, I'm okay not increasing a penny on the back of our employees, but this board needs to come up with a plan to save $240,000 to avoid a property tax increase, or I will not vote for
Is
it.
it fair to say though that everything that you've recommended came at the expense of our employees? Every single item
No,
what have you recommended that was not?
I want the 7% tax increase in the facilities.
Okay.
And a lot of the things that I'm in favor of, going with a merit-based bonus instead of adding to the base salary. I recommended to Noah 3 months ago. Some of the cuts that Noah has put in his budget, I'm in agreement with that. So it is unfair to say my cuts are all.
I apologize. It's just these that I know, and it's just these that, well, we weren't fortunate to sit with Noah 3 months ago and go over the budget.
Yeah.
We just got the budget 2
Well,
weeks ago.
One of my interests from my finance background in state local government is budget. So I've been working on this for months. But yeah, Noah has done an excellent job, I thought, of putting together a pretty good budget. Do I agree with 100% of it? No, but he took a lot of my ideas and put it in there, and I appreciate it. And so we don't balance everything on the backs of the employees.
Again, are we trying to reach consensus on the 401k situation?
There was two, Aldermen.
Well, I'm thinking also about, on the private industry side, typically there is an employee match. But at the same time, I don't see how this really works to our advantage. So I'm a no on that.
Alderman Kelly.
I'm now on. We gotta keep our employees right now.
Okay. No, there's 5-1.
I will change mine to a 50-cent match and it'll still be 5-1. Boys would have to match 50 cents on the dollar. And I'm still in the 50%. 50 cents.
You
on
give
the dollar.
50 cents, you give a dollar.
50 cents on the
Oh, I
dollar.
don't want that. We're all.
I agree with the 7%. That's how it stays.
Thank you, Ron.
Wholeheartedly. I mean, my dad, you don't know this, but my father owned a portrait studio. We raised the price of an 8x10 photograph to $178. This was in 2005, and people kept paying it. So my idea is you raise your rate until people stop paying it, and then you keep it there. That's the reality.
I agree with that. I agree.
What rate are you talking about?
Well, the facilities, I think the community building falls spot on, and, for me, I think we need to think about that. We always get caught up on, oh, somebody's not gonna spend the money, they're not gonna do this, they're not. Well, if you put it out there, if you look at that location, What other location in Southport would you rather get married at?
A church.
Not me. Damn thing might burn to the ground.
And by the way, that's not free.
Yeah, right, exactly, but you're right, and so I agree, you know, but that is one of the most beautiful locations that we could, and so let's get every dollar we can out.
And it was raised, remember, I remember the woman coming to speak, saying that was raised too much, and so we dialed back some, so it's fine.
And I think 7% increase.
Yeah, we can adjust that. So last year with the approved increases, we budgeted 310,000. That was the calculation we came up with based on the rate increase. As it stands today, I mean, we're at 270 for the community building. The proposed budget in front of you has 260. We backed that down after talking with Elena and her staff. So, I mean, there would be some increase when it comes 7%. We're looking at $10,000 to $15,000 potentially.
Well, you know, I performed many weddings. And I thought about this over the weekend, and I have performed 9 at the community building. And nobody's talked about money about that. They just love it there. And you look at our nearby jurisdictions, none of them have what we have. Wedding venues elsewhere are private venues, and they charge more.
And I think we agreed last week that they could take the flags down, which would help with.
Right. I would like to see us spend some time, like the fireplace is just fun.
So two items that we need to consider to update the building are painting the outside, which that's about 14,000. Redoing the handrails on both sides, that's 70 to 120,000.
The person who fell recently, was that related to the handrails?
It was not.
The handrails are, Tom, it's the handrails around the actual porch, right?
That's right.
Yes, the handrails all the way around the building. They've been patched, repaired, the top wood are in place, it's rotting. If you go, and I show you pictures, you just walk down yourself and look, it's rotting, it's rusted, some of them got barely held on by, the metal, even patched them. To come in and actually repair those ones, it costs more than replacing one thing. And the exterior of the building, it needs to be painted. Everybody wants to raise rates, I think it was Karen or Jesse had a good point the other day. You want to raise rates, trust me, I'm always in favor of raising rates. It keeps you from beating the hell out of the employees that are benefits in them around. But in order to do so, you need to spruce it up a little bit. Last year I did the deck. I was able to save money on that and do the overlook as well. So it's consistent matches actually saves the overlook actually get a fall through. We really don't need to do everywhere. So investment in building, then raise 10%, do what you want to do. So yes, that is work that needs to be done.
Remember, we replaced the floor, 3 years ago,
Yeah.
2 years ago?
It looks fantastic.
And by us coding it every single year, maintenance on it, instead of being deferred, it's building the floor up. So if the surface gets scratched, it's just coating and not the floor itself. I mean, we spent like $30,000 on it. But that is kind of the center point of where people want to come to Southport, like you just said. Robert, I believe he says that most people place in Southport getting there. Yes, Lowe's, Davis, churches are great, but they don't have to work from you. So again, you gotta decide where you want to put money and where you want to.
There is no other place on the coast where you can be married on the deck. River in the background, and if possible, a sailboat coming by, serendipitously. I mean, that is irreplaceable. Other than going out on the beach. I don't do beach weddings.
I don't know if we have any, those are capital improvements, right?
Yeah, I'll
So
bring
those
it
are-
back in the capital final
Yeah.
to include it.
All right, again, if no can come up with a tax neutral budget, doesn't raise taxes, I'm for not discussing any
Can I bring
employee contributions.
Can I bring up an elephant in the room?
I'll talk about it.
Parks and Rec. My children can talk to their programs. I went to their programs as a child. I'm not saying anything about what they have done. other than giving back to the community, I will say they've done a fantastic job giving back to the community. Are there pieces and parts of Parks and Rec that perhaps can come under community relations? And we maybe don't need a full Parks and Rec department?
No, the current staff of the community builds that capacity. So we don't have any, I mean, there are certainly elements of certain events that community relations has helped with in the last few months that they could continue to do. But I don't really think as far as the child care programs, there's a nature they could not absorb.
Are any of our staff using, or have our staff been using the child care programs?
Not to my knowledge. Well, we've had one.
I think that before we think about the Parks and Recreation program, two things. It's not within the purview of this board to decide what programs the city offers. This is the city manager. It's up to us to decide what we would fund and for him to then make adjustments to what programs could continue with that funding. But right now, we don't know what's the what with the investigation still ongoing and so on. So we don't know anything about staffing. We don't know what programs we can continue. But one of the, I'll pass this along, questions from citizens, is childcare recreation? Is this something that other cities offer? Not talking about summer camps, but is this something that the city needs to offer as a need for the city? Is it recreation? It's certainly not parks, but is this recreation? People tend to think of recreation as sports and activities. And if we wanted to have childcare, would it be under another department? Would it be organized differently? But I don't think we're at the point where we can discuss this and talk about it until we have, for example, a Parks and Recreation director who can come before us and talk to us about it.
Well,
So
perhaps
one of
we
the
don't need that position if we don't have the department.
Are you doing away with department?
Well, I'm just,
Is that your
I am pointing
recommendation?
out that we talk about, like I said, the elephant in the room. Right now, we don't have,
I mean, you know, the FY 27 proposed budget is $757,000. So the board can make a judgment, is that necessary? Do you want to cut it in half? Do we want to cut positions? Whether you keep it at the 757 level or you reduce it or increase it, I will make it work with what the final proposal. So it's really a matter of this board's judgment in what is the appropriate cap level. What is those around that as far as service level? What do we want to do? What do we not want to do?
I think the Alderman Davis's point, if we're in the childcare business, then we need to get it out.
Private, we do not
Okay,
need to
but that-
compete with
but that-
private business.
That's not what program was designed to be.
Mhm.
It's before and after school program. That's not childcare. If it's childcare, then we need to get out of business.
Right.
Period. Don't want to be in the childcare business. But before and after school program bring a lot of value to the kids that they serve and to the families that they serve.
Understood.
So that's where I would draw the line, is what are we offering? And does it meet the board's expectation? Is it childcare? Are we just babysitting, just, a couple of eyes on kids? Or are we actually providing a service? If we're providing a service, then I'd say, let's continue to do it. I appreciate that no one did a very good job, I thought, in Parks Rec budget this year, minimizing it for a lot of reasons. But if you look at the areas like camps, our camps are extremely well attended. And I think they bring good value. The kids that go on these trips, they get in that bus or they get in the vans, they go places, they're learning things. It's an experience. Can it be better? Everything can be better. I'd love to see it be better. But it serves a segment of our community that I think is often overlooked.
What, summer camp?
Yeah.
Well, I know that you have to sign up practically in January to get your kid
And
in.
like BSL, I think has a weight loss, you know, guys, I mean, so,
But the county also has a very good summer camp right over there at Springfield Park. And again, you have to sign up early. And it's more, I think it's about $25 a week more than we charge. And lots more activities. I think they swim 2 or 3 times a week. They take the kids up to the VCC. Boy, you gotta be on the ball and sign up quick.
so let's talk, I wish we
Yeah, I
had-
like summer camp. I'm for
Yeah.
summer camp. I like it. I love the basketball program. I love that. I'm not for preschool and after school. For 13 kids, half of them don't even live in the city of Southport, and we're operating at a loss. That can be better handled by the churches.
And let's stop saying churches, just please stop saying churches. Let's talk about all the other services, because when we keep saying churches, we're pushing kids to a program, and why aren't we pushing them to any of the other programs? So,
What other programs?
well, there's tons of other before and after school programs in our market, like the Y as an example.
But not before school.
Not.
This is something I wanted to find out, and you would know, I think. Does the elementary school open early for early arrivals for the kids to go into, say, the cafeteria all-purpose, gym and be there and get dropped off early and have a place to
The
be?
school's not.
No, and that's just personal knowledge. They don't, I don't think children are allowed in the building until at least 8 or 8:10.
8:10.
Yeah.
Okay.
They have some after school stuff, but not before.
Yeah, now I'm happy to call Dick and try to get Y into the school in the mornings, to fill a need if that's what it's about, but,
The after-school program by the Y is supposed to be really good.
No.
They get the kids outside, like you know, outside.
so I guess, you know, my question is, what are we, okay, so that's one option. What is that saving us, Joey? If we just stop paying if we just stop that one program, what are we saving?
So a lot of that was covered by for after school care things where they were utilizing part-timers. Our payroll system doesn't have the ability to clock in or out to a specific, all right, I'm doing this activity today. We can try and pull some numbers, but it'll be hard to quantify like staff time and what was dedicated to that in the mornings. I mean, we definitely look and see. I don't know that it was the full-time staff, if they were getting their first thing, if that's part-time, we can look. I don't know how that operates from the schedule.
In my judgment, I mean, if you go right with after school care, I think we could cut an additional employee. I think we have some flexibility there to, 2 primary full-time employees was handling that program. I think you could give out an additional cut.
So to answer, they were not doing activities before after school that we were paying for, like Jungle Rapids out here, eventually like summer camp.
So the employee cost.
It was employee cost, there were just like homework, snacks, things like
3
that.
people were talking at the same time.
Sorry, that was all I had to say, sorry.
Yeah, I heard that. I know I was saying something, but 47,000, 48,000, what are we talking in employee costs? Got one of those. Is that what you're thinking, Rebecca?
I think we have to find a way to make our budget work and that seems.
Well, we just pulled from the general fund.
Which Band-Aids for right now.
Well, that's what y'all want to do anyway.
So do we have
But Parks and Rec is vulnerable right now because, wait for it, we got all this shenanigans going on, right? And so, but we can't just look, oh, look, it doesn't exist right now, so let's just. So, I mean, there's a reason things were there. And as far as having staff and professional staff in a Parks and Rec, our parks and our playgrounds and all of those, you have to have certifications. You can't just be from community relations people, y'all. I mean, it is a skill to be a Parks and Rec director.
Oh, absolutely, and I'm not discounting the Parks and Rec department and what they've done. As I said, I'm like, my own children have gone through it, I went through it. But if we're looking at how to balance this budget in a way that's meaningful and is not band-aiding, we have to figure out ways to do that. And this is an option for how to do that.
I tend to agree with Rebecca, and I don't know if we have consensus on not continuing the before school and after school program, but I'm hearing Noah is if we discontinue before school and after school, for 13 children who obviously had to adapt and go somewhere else last year, and half of them don't live in the city, and we can cut one more position, then that kind of helps us not having to go to the employees across this town and ask for $35 a month for health insurance. So there's.
We're making it up
there's-
because we're not looking at how does that affect camps? I don't know the answer to that. I don't know that no one knows it because, but you know, the other things that we say we want, the basketball, the summer camps, whatever, all the Christmas things, I don't know what that means. And you don't really know what the value of that is. Because if you have to hire part-time people, and how does all that work? I don't know. I think we're making it up, is what I think, because we're in a situation that we're in with Parks and Rec. We're just making.
Could we take a vote, Mayor, on doing away with the before school and after school program? Is that appropriate?
I mean, we could, but the question is,
It doesn't exist now.
But it doesn't cost us
Yeah.
anything is what we're talking about.
It
It's
doesn't.
the employee that we're talking about. And when I mean, if you look through the list of employees in Parks and Rec, proposed list, we've got a Parks and Recreation Director. We're doing away with the Recreation Program Specialist. We've got Parks and Ground Maintenance Supervisor, which I believe is Michael.
Right.
We've got 2 recreation assistants. What would be their role and responsibilities be?
So that is all encompassing, so it would be, whatever the program.
Are
would
those
be.
2 of the people that have been?
That's correct.
Okay, so those positions have been, okay, and then Parks and Ground Maintenance work.
Right.
Which we have, that position's full?
Yes.
So we're talking about 4 employees for Parks. and
We have
Rec.
5 currently.
2 of them, right?
Okay, 2 of it, well, yeah, two grounds, a director and an assistant for.
Recreation assistant.
There's currently 2 recreation
Two
assistants
recreation
within the budget.
Could we get rid of one of the recreation assistants and continue to operate all these other programs except before school and after school?
I think so. It's just in adapting to whatever it becomes, then if there's something that we can't do, then we just can discontinue that. I mean, it's really just a.
Yeah, I'm struggling with that. If you're talking how many students, we're gonna have how many children in our, camps, summer camps?
Did we have
Well,
camps?
summer camp.
We do not have summer camp.
I know we're not this year, but I mean, are we done with it? 'Cause let's just wipe it out if we're done with it. Where are we going, guys?
I'm not
Yeah,
sure.
again, how many kids were in it?
How many
What
were
did
in
they
our
pay?
program?
What was the fee?
40?
What did we pay to maintain it?
I believe it was between 45 and 60 on a weekly basis for summer
Okay.
camp.
2 people can't manage that.
Right.
So we're gonna basically pay a part-time employee most likely. We'll have to add that role in and pay them just as much as having a.
Well, then we can look at a seasonal somebody, not necessarily somebody who's part-time, who's on payroll all year.
And then they're gonna be seasonal for basketball.
we need full time. If we would do rec, we need to do rec.
I don't know what's happening a little bit. We keep trying to, like, we bite away at it, but at the same time, we're finding out every time we bite away at it, that we're having to replace it. So do we agree we want summer camps? Do we agree we want all of these other programs at Parks and Rec? Do you have a list of all the Parks and Rec?
You've got Captain Charlie's, you've got the.
And if we do,
Basketball.
then we have to staff. it.
Yes, it's a matter.
But,
But if we don't, let's certainly go there.
let's talk about, if we're talking about Parks and Recreation Department. All right, taking care of the parks, I hope we can set that aside. But, okay, how many recreation programs do we have and overall, what do they cost? We don't have that much. I hear constantly from senior citizens who want sports, but here the senior citizens like bocce, like shuffleboard, like all kinds of things. Where are the sports programs? We got the Crab Derby, we got Captain Charlie's. What else?
We used to have, work stuff, we have summer camps. I'm good.
I mean, for adults. Let's talk about adults. How many programs do we have for adults in our recreation department?
I think the Brunswick Senior Center offers a robust programming 5 days a week with free lunch.
Well, we have basketball, leagues, but how many of them are for adults? Not many. So, I mean, this is a city with a very small population of people under 18, that our programs are all geared to under 18.
Well, I disagree with that. I don't know how to argue it, but we've had, I wish Heather was here to help us understand what programs they offer. There's stuff happening at the senior building. So Forestry has met in there, most recently, and we haven't been able to get in. Parks and Rec is meeting over there, at the JC now, but there's always stuff happening. So I would like us to get a better understanding of what that looks like, Noah, between now and maybe Thursday.
You can't operate in a vacuum of information.
Correct, and I think that's what's happening right now. And I think we need to be smart about our budget. I would, I don't, Alderman Gross is not wrong about, if we're running a daycare, that's not something we should be doing. If we're running recreation programs, if we're bringing value to children, to adults, to seniors, and families, then let's find ways to make that effective and efficient. But I mean, we've set year after year and seen the list of things that they do. But, it's surprising to me now that we're sitting here saying, what do they do?
I'm saying, what do they do? There's a whole big.
Oh, I know you're saying it, but I'm just saying
So I
that in
want to
the
know
past.
the answer.
Yeah, but in the past, we have set through, and I can pull up last year's budget meeting and watch that to create a list or even, I mean, are we allowed to reach out to Heather yet?
No. Okay. One of the things that comes up a lot in people talking to me is, why aren't we using Taylor Field? Right now, we've got the dog park, and we've got an oval that people walk around, and that's it.
That park is way used. I mean, I'm
So
saying,
what? Every day.
oh, it's a bunch of seniors.
Doing
Oh my gosh, they're out there and they're doing the
Okay.
Trump.
They're going around in the dog park.
And, they're working out, they're doing it all.
Okay.
It's impressive. It really is. That park is extremely well used.
And that's organized by them.
By individuals, yes,
Yes.
correct.
And it's using the track. But what about the rest of that park that we heard about was going to be used for other things, like a badminton court, a bocce court? People came to us 2 years ago begging for bocce. They wanted it on the fourth, Johnston, lawn, but you can't have it. And on and on. And I know that we have people having picnics and family reunions and so forth using the picnic area. But it was supposed to be for a bunch of recreational programs. And it's a passive park instead of an active park. And it is a waste of an incredible
So
facility.
St. James does have a bocce court over there by their kayak ramp. Tom, is that something you could do a little research on and build yourself?
What's that,
A
bocce?
bocce court. You're so
Well-
talented, buddy.
We're stacking, we can do any damn thing city wants us to do. There's been nothing I haven't had to do yet.
I believe Tom and his staff can build a bocce court.
Those picnic areas Do we rent them out for parties and things of that nature? Is this just a free service?
I mean, picnic tables at parks.
Yeah. Is there a fee?
So we do charge a fee for the parks themselves. If somebody wants to rent Franklin Square for a wedding, we have a fee. It's in the fee schedule, cabinets, all those are in the fee schedule without using like the picnic tables or the sheltered area at Taylorfield. No, there is no fee for anything like that.
So I like, again, everything we're talking about is expenditure. There are no revenue solutions out of this board. No revenue. It's all cut. We did the 7%. But it's all based on reactionary cutting instead of being aggressive and making.
Do you
There's
have
no
revenue ideas?
You know what the revenue idea is? You know what the revenue idea is?
Well, keep
It's
talking.
paid parking or permit parking.
Oh. Well, I think we've established that A, is not popular with our citizens, and B, while it looks like it brings in a lot of money, that parking presentation was a sales pitch and did not accurately reflect what net for the city would be. Remember, when they said they had this X number of parking spaces available that we could charge for, they were including private property. For God's sakes,
So they got $1 million of that.
Oak Island is not like us.
It's not different. They just charge and we don't. That's the difference.
Well, we don't have beach areas to charge for. I think maybe we should charge for use of the benches and the swings. You know, those Adirondack chairs, a little beer there.
So slow rolling back.
Count you out after 20 minutes.
There should be an option where somebody that wants to have a birthday party can go up on one of those things and reserve it for an hour or two and pay for an hour or two to reserve their spot for their children's birthday party. So we're not trying to generate any money from these assets. See, we don't have to go to permanent parking, but you got that. And nobody else coming up with any ideas. Except for cut. I live here. I don't want to cut nothing. I give the benefit of all of it. Why would I want to cut something?
If you want to bring up paid parking, I think we need to get more proposals from paid parking companies. Realistic. This guy said there were 900 spaces that we could charge money for, but he's going way back. And he's going into areas that they assumed were available that are not. And then paid parking for church attendance on Sunday mornings. Really?
We could go away with Sunday, but I had a funeral on Wednesday, had to park out there at Robert's house to get to it. Had to walk 4 blocks to go to a funeral at the Baptist church because it was a weekday. So this traffic doesn't care about Sunday and church.
And also, you know, the sales pitch did not include the fact that, especially in the downtown area, there are houses that do not have driveways that people have to park on the street. So of course, we would exempt them. We would exempt businesses and business employees.
We need an
By
ad
the
hoc
time you
committee.
start exempting,
We did this
now,
already.
you're not making any money and you're really.
I do think there's some things that we can do with parking. I don't know the answer, and I'm not saying, but the permit concept, because I'm seeing people parking in valuable parking spots for hours on end.
Oh, yeah.
And I'd love to see a two-hour maximum parking situation, if we could get there. Business owners, as a business owner, I park as far away from my front door as I can, because that's the right thing to do. It's the right thing to do for my business and other businesses. Some business owners park at their front door.
So one of the things that we had talked with Chief, once the ordinance is updated, there is a parking limit, there is, revenue for parking fines that can be paid at the city. Once the ordinance is complete, right, Chief? That's a possibility.
We have signs that have a limit on parking, right?
They took them down, there's nothing to enforce it.
Yeah, so once
You
the,
look right outside and it's 2 hours.
They included, you're all right, they took them down. They took them down because they were not enforceable, so the city manager had them removed. They were put up by previous board and it was to, deter folks that were parking like around our yacht base and getting on a private boat, going and working all day. It was causing a bunch of issues, but they never put into place an ordinance to enforce it, so they ended up taking them up.
I mean, in the history of the known universe, we have never charged anybody for parking. Is that correct? Nobody's ever parked in a place that said 2 hour parking limit and stayed all day and never had to pay anything, correct?
Right.
So.
All right, that was a good day for parking discussion. Back to the budget. Back to the budget.
Brave,
So-
very brave.
We need to have obviously a Parks and Rec department. I think we all find Alderman Carroll said there's value. I'm talking monetary value in these programs, and we need to, find ways to, bring it back. And so is that your plan, manager, to at some point?
Yes, we will have a department of some kind with some people in the future.
And in the meantime, it's over $250,000 less budgeted for this year.
Yeah, we weren't sure if the program
So,
would continue.
I mean, it is.
Right.
It's a tough situation to try to involve ARC about.
There is a reduction currently in the.
And yet we brought in only 21,000 in revenue.
So what I heard Noah say is to get to no property tax increase, we need to find $240,000.
251,365.
251. 18 out of the 19 municipalities in Brunswick County are either keeping their tax rate the same or lowering it. Caswell Beach, the only one that I can find that's raised there. So I would like to see Noah go back, work with Joey on some of our conversations, some of our details, how we voted, didn't vote, whatever, and see if he could find that 240,000 without balancing, the budget on the backs of our employees. I'm fine with that. But I'm not for a tax increase when 18 out of these other 19 municipalities can get by without one, and Southport just can't. But I've got confidence in Noah and Joey can find that 240,000 and not balance it on the back of that.
So, yes, with 4 votes, I can do that. As we've seen today, there's not 4 votes. So the only alternative I see is rather cut existing employees or fund balance it. So we will certainly go back and look at it.
To touch again,
Without,
we reduced almost 975,000 of operating expenses already in this budget.
So did we take a vote that we're
don't
definitely
think-
gonna raise taxes?
I don't think we've not even established this, 1.5%
For, on the property tax, is that something this board is opposed to?
It's 4.8% increase, taxes, not 1.5 cents. Doesn't sound right much.
And quite honestly, you wouldn't want to hear me, but I would make it 2.5 because I feel like we need to continue to fund our capital fund. I mean, and so that's really the truth to me, so.
So as a side note, we often compare ourselves to others, and then we talk about how little or how much a particular department. And it's easy for us to point a finger at Parks and Rec, as you just did. We bring in whatever it is. But as an example of one of our departments that spends a lot of money, no harm it. Yeah, not an attack. I'm just trying to show low that what works for one should work for all.
What's the other department?
The police department brings in, excuse me, am I right on this? Where am I? Police department brings in revenues of 88,500 proposed for this year, and their expenditures are just about 3 million.
I can get that, of course.
Okay.
Thank you, service.
And, a lot of people would consider Parks and Rec and public health essential.
What is government? Government is supposed to be
Not a.
safety and protection.
Well, one thing that is,
Yes.
yeah, the one thing the city is required to do is protect the citizens, provide safety service. Period. We're not required to do anything else.
They're not required to have a police department.
So that means you have to have a police department, and by safety, I think that also.
requirement.
The only two requirements to be a charter city in North Carolina is to have a city clerk and do building inspections, and you can contract building inspections to the county. See, we don't have to do it.
You don't have to provide public safety.
You do not.
Well, damn.
The fire department does, but they can be on their own again.
Yeah.
Anyway, back to the ad valorem tax that was proposed in this budget was 1.5 cents, right, 1.5 cents. Alderman,
Yeah.
myself, said 2.5. Alderman Carroll, are you opposed?
I'm not willing to make any decision on the budget until we see this next version of it. And to Alderman Gross's point, allow staff to go back. You know, if we have to use, if we have to use fund balance to make up the difference, I'm not opposed to that. Honestly, because we're talking 250, 240. Yeah, well, that's 251 because we contracted. We added.
And we can, I mean, we can definitely review specific line items. I know there are some requests and there's small equipment, you know, I mean, it just comes down to making cuts and sacrifices to serve.
Chief, are there any electric fans in this budget?
Really quick. We got interest on the fund balance. How much was the interest paid on the fund balance?
Right now, our interest is actually around 3.75%.
How much money did we have, because we had that fund balance? How much money did we get from the interest of that, whatever the rate, do the numbers?
I will have to get those for you in just one more.
But you,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Which is great, and that's how I look at it, Mark, okay, that's money we earned. That's not necessarily one-time money.
yeah, is every year we can use that kind of a drill. Just like the gentleman up in Bowling Springs that wanted to build a foundation for Bowling Springs that would maintain the structure, all the infrastructure. And so building that nest egg, I'm very proud of it. We were in trouble 6-8 years ago. We were getting letters going to be turned over to the LGC or whatever the entity was.
Well, from a financial perspective, we've never been better off. The last 4 or 5 years, which everybody's talking a lot of crap about, has been extremely good because this board, these boards that I've been a part of have not kicked the can.
And
And we've done it with good, you know, financial guidance from those that were serving in that
So
office.
year-to-date interest in the general fund is $555,000 for the month
one
remaining.
of our biggest incomes, beating our precious ABC money now. It's our third or fourth largest income, our interest payment. So it's not bad to make an investment in the longevity of Southport. I may be charging a little bit more. That's where I'm at, is building that nest egg up to where we don't have to call Charlie anymore. We can't be sufficient on those, and he's my neighbor and all that, I'm not that, but I'm just saying, we gotta quit asking and making. It's been asked.
I want to keep asking for the courthouse if we're gonna ask for anything.
You're gonna have to keep asking because we can't generate millions. and
Well,
millions of
we
dollars.
can find ways forward to be smart about it, you know, but anyway, so I guess the answer to the question is, if we're just trying to reach consensus, I would prefer to use fund
It's just the
balance.
fund balance and we're done. There's no 1.5 in it.
Now, staff does have a game plan to reintroduce the 1 cent, but that would be within the current rate for next year, correct, for capital?
Well, it depends on how much you want to use in fund balance. I mean, the way the budget is now with in the 1.5 cent, I use the 1 cent to general, not to get us a 2.5 cent tax increase. So it's a matter of, you know, do you want to send the cent back to capital? Then we'd have to come up with additional 159,000 of fund balance to cover the general fund.
And the board can also always make an appropriation of just a dollar value of fund balance to be attributed to the capital fund this specific year.
But what did you say about the Southport fire fee? If it passes and we go to a 25% increase in the fire fee, that will
Right, so
reduce the amount we're taking out of fund balance.
it was, so, my recommendation now is around 900,000, whatever that dollar figure is. So with the pirate fees, that would substantially reduce it. So we would come back to whatever that level is to balance the general fund, if that's what we wanted to do versus the tax increase.
Does that fire fee will cover the 250 shortfall we got?
Yes, it would cover the, it would get us to much of the debt payment, that the fund balance accounts for.
And the rate, if we increase, would be like 33 cents? Is that 31.5, 32.5, 33?
32 and a half, which we're currently at 31 tax rate.
Thank you.
You're good with using fund balance?
Since we're going around the table, I hope that Thursday night we see proposals from you and with different scenarios about how we can get to a zero increase in our budget. And there are a whole bunch of different things we've talked about, and cutting staff, cutting this program, cutting that program, going, cutting into the fund balance and so on. The different things that we have seriously talked about and seem to have at least half and half consensus on. Let's see what that brings us to. How do we get to no tax increase?
And I will consider, if we use fund balance to cover the 251, I'll consider voting for the budget, provided there's no tax increase.
And so, no, I think that if I'm not mistaken, what Lowe's asking for, we added $11,000 to the budget, right? Okay, so that means we have to cover $251,000. So the proposal you're going to bring to us on Thursday is going to be using $251,000 of fund balance to cover that deficit, right? Therefore, giving us no rate increase. That's really the only option he's bringing to the table on.
But if we get the 25% fire fee passed, that'll go back and offset some of that money we're taking out of fund balance.
Right.
So we're really putting the money back in.
Yeah.
But we've also scratched some small itches like the fee for the community building. Little things like that. Maybe it doesn't have to be 251. Maybe it can be 150. Or more to the point, 240, 200.
Right.
Yeah, so
Rebecca.
Alderman Davis's point, I was going to be, we may see a $10,000 increase over what we had budgeted for the community building. There are small line items, so 240, 230 to 250 in fund balance would be ballpark the number to balance with no tax increase, right?
Okay, so we're gonna use fund balance, not have the 1.5, is that?
Rebecca's no on fund balance?
I'd like to see what Noah comes up with. I don't want to direct him one way or another.
He just answered the question. He's answered it.
Others are going to look for other.
I'd like to look for other cuts.
Mark?
All
I'm
discussion.
open. Listen, that's all. No problem.
All right, and, Alderman Rose, you say you're good with fund balance,
But looking at fund balance,
and any other cuts.
and any other cuts, as long as we get to zero property taxes.
And we're not cutting police in that budget.
No, no.
We're giving everybody everything they needed, and making it happen this year. Give us a chance to figure it out this coming year about how we can raise some money.
Can we ask that in this next budget cycle, we get started significantly earlier?
Yes.
Amen.
Amen.
I mean,
I'll speak to that. So
What did you ask?
I asked if we could get started significantly earlier in this next budget cycle. I
We're
mean,
going to vote on this on the 17th. We don't have to vote until June the 30th.
but this is insane.
So
that we get-
part of the issue this year is, software conversions to get us to the new software. We wait on that. We don't receive final tax numbers from the county until late March.
Good grief.
So, and to be honest, the board's going to still be finicky in January as you are in June. Right. So we can start in December. It's really immaterial, but yes, I do plan to start earlier next year than we were this year because of this.
I will just ask that, Memorial Day, Labor Day is difficult because it's my busy time of year and my children are out of school. Anything prior to that is a little bit easier for me.
Okay, all right. Any other, Mr. Manager, anything else? You got your instructions from the board? We'll,
Clear as mud.
we'll be meeting, we cut all employees by 10% and their salaries, and the board no longer gets the stipend. There we go. All right. So, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Okay, I'm gonna second. Second by Pro Tem, all in favor?